11 people were watching my live stream. 6 of them worked for me. I know that because I could see their usernames. 2 of the other 5 were bots. That leaves 3 actual humans, and one of them typed "wrong room, sorry," and left. This was the moment I decided to save my father's company. Let me back up. My name is Xiao Ming. I inherited a small pharmaceutical research firm from my dad, and 3 years later, I was sitting in his old chair, reading a revenue report that said we had lost 3 million yuan that month. Not made, lost. The number had a little minus sign in front of it, and the minus sign felt personal. My assistant, Mei Li, had put the report on my desk and then stood there watching my face do things. She was 22, sharp as a scalpel, and she had this habit of holding documents against her chest like a shield when she thought I was about to have a bad day. "President Xiao," she said, "don't be discouraged." I was not discouraged. I was doing math. There is a difference, and the difference is that math is worse. Here's the part that made it insulting. Our products worked. Not worked in the pharmaceutical marketing sense, where you need a magnifying glass and a lawyer to find the word may. They worked better than 99% of what was on the shelf, and the 1% that beat us did it by costing 40 times more. I know this because I made them. When I woke up in this world, I woke up with something in my head called chemical affinity, which is a fancy way of saying molecules do what I tell them. Compounds that take a research team 8 years, I can sketch on a napkin. Dozens of patents, every one of them cleared trials clean. 0 side effects. And every single one of them was dying in a cardboard box in the corner of a pharmacy, behind the foot cream. Because it turns out the pharmaceutical industry isn't a science competition, it's a shelf competition. And every shelf in the country already belonged to men who had been buying dinners for the same buyers for 20 years. So I said, fine, if they own the shelves, we'll sell where there are no shelves. Livestream commerce, I said. Mei Li lit up. Yes, I read that even small brands can. Great, you're the host. The light went out of her face like someone unplugged it. Huh? Me? You're pretty and I can't afford anyone prettier. I want to be clear that I hired her because she was capable, but I would be lying if I said the interview panel hadn't perked up when she walked in. Oval face, big eyes, the kind of clear, cool skin that makes lighting engineers cry with gratitude. In a university, she'd have had a fan club and a nickname. She stood there for a second. Then she took a breath, made a fist, and said, "President Zhao, I'll do my best, so you have to as well." I bumped her fist. It was the single most professional thing that happened in my company that year. She left, and on the other side of the door, she pulled out her phone, scrolled to a number she had saved under one word, hovered over it, and put the phone away. Not yet, she thought. Not yet. I didn't know that at the time. I found out later, and when I did, my entire understanding of my own company had to be rebuilt from the ground up. But we'll get there. I was reaching for my jacket to go eat lunch when my phone rang. Familiar number, my favorite person. "Mr. Zhao, what's your decision? 500 million, flat, for your patents. Nobody in this market will offer you more than me." That was Wang Jian, general manager of Huimei Pharmaceutical, which is to Chinese medicine roughly what a glacier is to a village. Every category, every channel, every shelf. If our products were being quietly strangled in the market, and they were, his fingerprints were the ones on the throat. "No need, Mr. Wang. I never considered it. Not for 1 second. Not from the beginning." He laughed. He always laughed. "Haha, that works too. My door is always open if you regret it." I hung up on him mid-sentence, which I recommend to everyone at least once. Then I went downstairs, ate a bowl of noodles alone, and came back up to watch my company's first live stream be witnessed by 11 people, 6 of whom I was paying. Mei Li was doing her absolute best. She was holding up a jar of our scar cream and explaining that if you applied it before bed, the scar would visibly lighten by morning, which was true and sounded like a lie. The chat was not discussing the scar cream. "Sister is so beautiful. If I buy the medicine, can I be your boyfriend? Streamer, have you considered switching to beauty content? Come work for our company. Signing fee negotiable. Excuse me. Nobody is buying anything. Fine, I accept that. That is the market speaking. But you're going to poach my staff in my own room? In front of me?" Behind the camera, 20-some employees stood in total silence, watching 4 comments scroll past in 3 minutes. I could feel the mood in the room going flat, the way air goes out of a tire. They knew the numbers. They knew what a company losing 3 million a month eventually becomes. And here's the thing that actually hurt. They liked working here. Overtime paid double. Benefits were real. I didn't scream at people. In this job market, that's practically a fairy tale. They weren't scared of losing a job. They were scared of losing this one. Then the viewer count moved. 50. I looked up. 100. Said someone behind me. 500. 2,000. Somebody in the back said, "Did we buy traffic?" in the voice of a man asking whether anyone else smelled gas. We had not bought traffic. We could not afford traffic. I looked at Mei Li, and Mei Li looked at me, and both of our faces were doing the exact same thing, which is the face you make when a slot machine you didn't put a coin in starts paying out. Then the comments arrived, and they arrived like water through a broken dam. "Is this Lin Shen Pharmaceutical? Put the product on the shelf. Someone try it and report back. For the record, I'm not buying this because I have a problem. I just want my wife to experience my former glory." Bro, you came to this stream. We all know why we're here. Now, I'm going to have to explain something, and I'm going to explain it exactly once, and then I'm going to spend the rest of this story not explaining it again. Among the several dozen compounds my company had developed and failed to sell, there was one. A men's product. It worked on testosterone and nerve response. It It was clinically several times stronger than anything in its price bracket, and it had no side effects whatsoever. We called it Golden Spear. I did not name it. I want that in the record. It sold about as well as everything else we made, which is to say it lived in a corner of the store where the lighting was bad and men could pretend to be looking at vitamins. And now, 2,000 people were in my live stream screaming for it. Maylee's face went a color I had previously only seen in sunsets. She had prepared to sell scar cream. She had rehearsed a scar cream script. She had never used the other thing. She was not going to describe the other thing, and she had gone completely rigid on camera, like a woman who has just found a spider on her own shoulder. So I stepped in front of the lens. Hello everyone, I'm the owner of Lin Chen Pharmaceutical. You're here for the product, correct? 2,000 people typed at once. We have stock. Nobody panic. My staff are putting it up right now. Maylee shot me a look of such raw gratitude that I felt briefly heroic. And then she stepped sideways out of frame so fast she nearly took out a light stand. The chat was ecstatic. Hurry up. If they see me waiting, they'll think I can't afford it. 5 boxes. 1 a week. Bro, your wife is going to call the police. Good. Then I can brag about it for a year. No. A lifetime. Educated people really do phrase things differently. I stood there with my professional smile on and absolutely no idea what had happened to my life in the last 4 minutes. So I asked them, straight out to the camera, can somebody please explain what's going on? I'm flattered, but this product has never sold well, and I'd love to know why 2,000 of you showed up at once. The chat lost its mind. In a good way. The boss doesn't know. No wonder the girl looked so confused. Okay, short version. A thief stole your product. He used it that night. His wife called the police. At midnight, they arrested him. And here's the part that killed us. When the police were scolding him, he lifted his chin and looked proud. I read that 3 times. Then I searched the keywords they were feeding me, and I found the video, and I want to describe it to you exactly as it happened, because it changed my entire life, and it is 1 minute long. A middle-aged man, thinning hair, completely ordinary face. He is being interviewed by a reporter outside a police station, and before the camera rolls, he fixes his hair. Why did you steal this particular product? I didn't plan to steal it. I just felt it was a little embarrassing for a man to buy that kind of thing. It was sitting in the corner. I read the description, saw how miraculous they claimed it was, and I'm a rebellious person by nature. I absolutely did not believe it, so I thought I'd take it home and test it. He slaps his own thigh here. He is delighted with himself. I never expected it to be that effective. I frightened my wife. Ah, cough. You can't. Oh, right. Can't say that. It's not that you can't say it. So basically, I was too good and she begged for mercy. And I said, did you let me off when I begged? No. So do you think I'm letting you off now that I finally got my chance? Reporter, very quietly, off mic. I don't think so. Exactly. But I didn't expect her to call the police. Ugh, so embarrassing. So incredibly embarrassing. And then at the end, with his face pressed as close to the lens as he could physically get it, this man, publicly humiliated, arrested, on national news, made one request. Please don't blur my face. I set the phone down on my desk very gently, like it might go off. That was Chen Guoliang, age 40-something, occupation, none, going forward. And he had just done more for my company in 60 seconds than 2 celebrity endorsements and a television ad campaign had done in 3 years. I want to be precise about the sensation. It was not joy. It was the specific vertigo of watching a boulder you have been pushing uphill for 3 years suddenly get picked up by a tornado. Meanwhile, the counter said 6,000. An employee gave me a thumbs up off camera. Stock was live. All right, everyone. Thank you for your patience. It's on the shelf. 5,000 units. Gone. Not sold well. Gone. The number went from 5,000 to 0 in the time it took me to finish the sentence announcing it. There were 6,000 people in that room, which means the online population of this country is a bunch of liars, because every man on the internet will tell you, at length, unprompted, that he has never needed help in his life. 5,000 units, 2 seconds. Sure, boys, sure. The chat detonated. I was on the payment screen. I hadn't even boarded the bus. Boss, stock more. There's money on the table. Get the 89 yuan version up. If they see me buying the 39, they'll think I'm poor. I already bought my wife the bunny outfit. The only thing missing is your product. Hurry. I leaned over to the ops guy and whispered the obvious question, and he gave me the obvious answer. Boss, you forgot. It doesn't sell. That's all the stock there is. Right, of course. We hadn't mass-produced anything, because mass-producing things nobody buys is how a struggling company becomes a bankrupt one in a single quarter. So I went back to the camera and did the only thing I had. Family, I'm sorry. We genuinely did not expect this many of you. We have no backup stock. Then I made it up on the spot. But in a few minutes, we're putting up 10,000 half-price vouchers. Free. Take one. Use it when the product restocks. And to thank you, anyone who follows us now and buys from us next time becomes a Lin Chen Pharmaceutical VIP. 20% off everything we ever make, forever. Card ships with your order. And for those of you who already bought today, don't panic. You get it too. Send customer service a screenshot and we'll refund half. I watched a room of 6,000 people forgive me in real time. Wait, it's really gone? Unbelievable. I forgive you because the boss is handsome. This stuff is 50 yuan a box and he's this generous? Okay, I'm a fan now. Young, handsome, boss, are you single? I have a daughter. Fine, I'll go check the physical stores. When's the next stream? I'm afraid I'll miss it again. While I was doing damage control, Mei Li was on the phone to the production line, and she came back with a face like a woman who has just discovered a second heart. 5 to 9 every night, and I've already told the factory to run emergency production, I told the camera. It'll take until the afternoon after tomorrow. I hope you can understand. Fine, fine. For a handsome boss, I'll rest up for 2 days. Bro, you want your wife to call the police too? Obviously. If I pull that off, I can brag for the rest of my life. She's never been satisfied with me. I need to show her what a man is. Go get her, King. Nobody left. That's the part I still think about. We told 10,000 people the thing they came for was gone, and instead of leaving, more of them arrived. So I sent Mei Li back in front of the camera to talk about the scar cream, because here's a demographic fact I learned that night. A room full of men shopping for that product contains a surprising number of wives, girlfriends, and women who are simply present and might as well buy something. 2,000 orders of scar cream in half an hour, at 300 a jar, 240 with the VIP discount, close to 500,000 yuan. Plus the men's product, call it 620,000 for the night. Our entire revenue the previous month had been under 500,000. I took 20 plus people from operations out for barbecue. Halfway through, I stood up with a glass in my hand, and I said the thing every desperate boss says. Thank you for these last few days. Keep pushing on the official account. By year end, if we hit 1 million followers, year end bonus doubles, and everyone gets 7 days somewhere with a beach. Everyone's eyes lit up. They knew it was a boss making promises with money he did not have. But the cake smelled incredible. And here's the thing. We'd gained 50,000 followers that night. If the thief stayed famous, 1 million was not a fantasy. It was a schedule. Don't worry, boss. We'll do it. Cheers. Glasses everywhere. I called a designated driver because I'd been drinking, and since Mei Li lived on my way, I put her in the car. Night air through the window, that specific clarity you get when you're half sober and something enormous has just happened. You worked hard today. I'll have HR hire proper hosts. Because let's be honest, I had thrown a girl in front of a camera with zero warning, and then thrown her in front of an audience she was in no way prepared for, and she had absorbed both hits and sold 500,000 yuan of scar cream. She looked out the window. Then she stole a glance at the side of my face and looked away again. It's fine, boss. It's my job. And honestly, facing the camera isn't as hard as I thought. You got a taste for it? She laughed, small. I wouldn't go that far. Call it a completely new experience. Do it well, and there's a bonus next month. Thank you, boss. Polite. Don't let the face fool you. She'd been with the company under 6 months, and she had every operational function running in neat little rows. I lived in R&D. She ran the meetings I couldn't be bothered to attend. If she'd asked for my chair, I'd have had to think about it. The car stopped near her compound. She got out and waved. I'm going, boss. Get home safe. Okay, bye, boss. The next morning, she came into my office at a dead run, out of breath, phone already out. Boss, did you see? See what? She held up the screen. A profile, username, a real man, Chen Guoliang. That's him, she said. That's the thief. I looked at the follower count, 560,000, and pinned to the top of the profile, thank you all for your attention. I'll be live streaming tonight at 8 to chat with everyone. I want to be honest about my emotional reaction here, because it was not admiration. It was relief so violent it was almost nausea. My single greatest fear for 12 hours had been that this wave would break and disappear, and my company would go back to being a company nobody had heard of, holding 30,000 units of product in a warehouse. And instead, the wave had grown a face, a follower count, and a broadcast schedule. Legally, he was fine, by the way. It was a minor theft, and he'd gotten a verbal warning. Nothing stopping him from streaming. I had Mei Li pull the product operations department into a room inside of 10 minutes. Chen Guoliang becoming famous is the best thing that has ever happened to this company, I told them, so we're not going to sit here and hope. We put our products in his hands directly, him personally, on camera. And look at his older videos, severe male pattern hair loss. Convenient because we happen to have a hair regrowth compound sitting in a drawer with excellent trial data. Start with the men's product, then get him on video documenting the hair one. Because this is the century we live in. Passing the civil service exam used to be the end of the road. Now people make in one night what a career pays in 40 years by holding a product up to a phone. There's a famous anti-fraud officer in this country who went viral, quit a secure government job, and jumped headfirst into live-stream commerce. People call him a clown. He does not appear to hear them over the money. Put a pig in the right place at the right moment, and it flies. Chen Guoliang was, at that moment, the fattest pig ever to stand in the eye of a storm. All he had to do was keep flapping. 10 a.m., meeting ends. 11 a.m., 3 separate clips of the interview go viral on 2 platforms. 3 p.m., a remix of the interview hits the front page of a video site, and the man's regional accent becomes a sound effect used by strangers. 4 p.m., our PR department reaches a verbal agreement with him. 6 p.m., he's the number 3 trending topic in the country. 8 p.m., he goes live. Every one of those was us, every single one. And the beautiful part is that not one thing we did was a lie. We just carried the fire to where there was more air. On his end, Chen Guoliang was sitting in his own apartment refreshing his follower count like a man checking whether his lottery ticket is still real. 560,000 that morning, 910,000 by dinner. His phone had been ringing all afternoon with agencies offering him management contracts. He was going to stream on his wife's phone because his own was 3 years old and the camera was garbage. 8 o'clock. He goes live. 50,000 people walk in the door in the first minute. And these were real. He had no agency, no bot budget, no idea how any of this worked. 50,000 actual humans came to look at a man because of the worst night of his life. The chat hit him like weather. First. I, Xiao Ming, am watching under my real name. Bro, you finally went live. Come see the man so powerful his wife called the police. I thought you were making a comeback and then you got arrested halfway through. Brother, seriously, is there no side effect? I'm curious, is it really that good? Because if so, I'm buying some for my husband. He got dizzy. You can watch it happen. He just started answering whatever question his eyes landed on, in an accent so thick the subtitles gave up twice. Is it really that good? He slammed his palm on the table, lifted his chin, and delivered the line that would eventually be spoken by a professional esports commentator on national television. No way, bro. You're telling me my wife called the police and I'm not tough. Let me tell you, sister, when I get fierce, even I'm scared of myself. The chat did not recover. He has such an honest, simple face and such arrogant eyes. So this is the one thing you're going to brag about forever, huh? Talented. We're getting cocky. Somebody asked about side effects again. He considered it with great seriousness, like a man being deposed. Side effects? Honestly, didn't notice much. I drink goji and pu'er tea. I jog at night. What problems would I have? When I walked out of the station that morning, my legs were a little unsteady, but nothing else. Of course, the married brothers in here know why. Sigh. These days, I volunteer for overtime, just in case my wife catches me at home and makes me pay my dues. Who isn't? I was incredible at 25. After 35, my wife has never once been satisfied. I'm 23 and I want to buy some. What does that say about me? Young man, failing this early. Tragic. He's 23. Let him experience being a big shot. What's wrong with you people? I'm buying some for my husband tomorrow, just to have around. Ah, I want some for my boyfriend too. Uncle, does it have a strong taste? I want to slip it to him. He tilted his head back like a sommelier consulting his memory. The taste, not much taste. A bit like the gummies kids eat. If you sneak it into your boyfriend's mouth, he'll swallow it in one go.
And for a first time, half a pill. Everyone here knows why.
The internet took that clip, cut it, subtitled it, and turned it into a permanent artifact of human civilization. Can I feed this to my roommate? He's level 13 on the abstinence forum.
Sure, if you're not scared of him climbing into your bed tonight.
Where do you find a roommate that considerate?
I'm his roommate. Come back to the dorm. I dare you.
10 minutes in, he crossed 100,000 viewers. Meanwhile, in our office building, past 9, the operations floor was still lit up like a casino. Me, Mei Li, and Zhang Hao, head of operations, mid-40s, thinning on top, permanently slightly damp with enthusiasm, were sitting 3 across in front of one monitor refreshing our own back end. That's over 200,000, Mei Li said. Her voice had gone up half an octave. 200,000 new followers. From him. Zhang Hao was making a face I can only describe as a man watching his mortgage die. Earlier that afternoon, we'd sold out our remaining scar cream, 4,000 jars. Cleared the warehouse. 2 days, 1.5 million yuan. The previous entire month had been under 500,000. Has the factory answered? I asked. Mei Li nodded. By midnight tomorrow, 30,000 units of the men's product guaranteed, plus roughly 1,500 of the scar cream. Good. That gap between the two numbers wasn't arbitrary. The scar cream has a much uglier process. 20 steps where the other one has 6. And since orders placed during a stream ship after midnight anyway, we actually had more slack than it looked like. I stood up to leave and told the floor. I already told Supervisor Zhang. After work, everyone eats, company pays. If you'd rather have the cash, take the cash. They tackled me. I'm not exaggerating. There was physical contact. Since that morning's meeting, that department had been running at a speed I had never seen. The viral clips of Chen Guoliang, the remix video, that was all them. 20-some people, no ad budget, working a national news cycle with their bare hands. Boss is awesome. Long live the boss. Hot pot. I had hot pot yesterday, and again today. Sigh. I'm going to get fat. That night, the thing stopped being ours, because the clips from Chen Guoliang's stream started spreading on their own, to platforms we had no accounts on, into group chats belonging to people who had never heard of my company. Aside from being unsteady on my feet, I had no major reactions. I was so sudden I scared myself. Half a pill is best. And then, at maybe 11 that night, during a professional esports broadcast, a top laner playing a champion with a big red sword hit level 6 at 0 kills and 2 deaths, pressed his ultimate, and charged alone into all 5 members of the enemy team. He was deleted instantly. 0 damage, total confidence. And the commentator, live, on air, in front of a stadium, screamed, "He flashed into 5 people. When he gets fierce, even he is scared of himself. And he's dead. He's dead. He's instantly dead. We're going to get aced." That was it. That was the moment it left orbit. By 1 in the morning, the phrase was the #1 trending search in the country. By then, Chen Guoyang had 1.5 million followers, and underneath his pinned interview video, thousands of people were queuing up to declare themselves. I am the first man who gets so fierce he scares himself. Stress-resistant tourism group, step forward. +1, +2, +1086. Is it really that good? I don't believe it. Don't believe it? Eat a whole one and find out if your girlfriend calls the police. No need. Half a pill and I'm restored to my former imperial dignity. By 5 p.m. the next day, our official account had passed 320,000 followers, and I sat down in front of the camera next to Mei Li for the second broadcast of my life. The counter went 2,000, 10,000, 30, 80, 100,000. We had 300,000 followers and 100,000 people watching live. Those two numbers are not supposed to have that relationship. Let me state up front that I am fully capable. I'm just here for fun. Sure, buddy. Come on, man. You're already inside. Why keep pretending? Our local stores are out. Can't buy it even if we want to. Same here. The whole rise of Chen Guoyang is bizarre. Have to admit, this company is good at this. They turn that thing into a viral drug. Yeah, it feels fake to me. Saw through it ages ago. These people will do anything to sell. Fake my foot, idiot. Have you tried it? I used it last night. I feel 18. No, better than 18. Get out of here. You can't even afford 50 yuan. I bought mine offline for half price. We had a final battle last night. I was going to file for divorce today. She has changed her mind and says she will never divorce me. Here he comes. The schemer is here. Mei Li made a noise beside me that she tried to convert into a cough. I did the responsible thing and answered actual product questions. Seriously, on camera, with a straight face, for 11 minutes. Is half a pill really best? If it's not severe and the issue is duration, half is more than enough. When is a whole one appropriate? If you exercise regularly and keep a normal schedule, 1 is fine, though I'd ask your wife's opinion first. Side effects? Effectively none. There's natural fatigue afterward, which is normal physiological regulation. Get some rest. Does it work for congenital cases? That's a deeper pathological issue. We haven't achieved that yet. How does it compare to that famous imported herbal oil? I smiled at the camera, completely crushed. And I believe this product can go abroad and be sold in every corner of the world. I want you to remember that I said that on a Tuesday to 100,000 people as a joke that wasn't entirely a joke, because roughly 9 months later, a Frenchman with shares in 2 luxury conglomerates would be selling it in a velvet box for 6,000 euros. Holy crap! I love this man's personality. This is what it looks like when you get so fierce you scare yourself. Fine, 50 boxes. Today. This is more exciting than the anime I'm behind on. Where is it? Put it up. My money is already out. Is the streamer still talking because he's worried we can't pay? Today the kids born after 2000 will see what men born in the 80s are made of. Those born in the 90s dare not speak. I waved at Zhang Hao. He put 30,000 units in the back end. 1 minute. 30,000 units. Bottom right corner of your screen. Before that, I'd like to sincerely remind everyone to only buy what you actually
Stop talking, I want to test my limits.
charge. I'm rich, and my core strategy in life is never listening to advice. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Live. 2 seconds later, Zhang Hao refreshed the dashboard, blinked, refreshed it again, and turned to look at me with the face of a man who has just watched a magic trick he suspects was real. Boss, it's gone. Mei Li, beside me, drew out a single syllable that would be clipped and re-uploaded 11,000 times. Ah! Chat detonated. What? I didn't get one. What is this? I really like what the girl said. Ah, that's it? That's it? Hunger marketing. I'm fed up. Release another batch. I got 200 boxes. Follow my profile if interested. 200? Your little cow can't handle that. You will eat yourself to death. I'm crying. I'm actually crying. 30,000 orders. 2 seconds. And I had scalpers. 12 days ago, I had a warehouse and a minus sign, and now I had scalpers. I was drawing breath to apologize to the people who'd missed out when the screen lit up in a way I had never seen a screen light up. Principal Li has gifted you a carnival ×1. Principal Li has gifted you 2 carnivals. Principal Li has gifted you 33 carnivals. For those of you not fluent in Livestream currency, one of those effects costs 3,000 yuan. 33 of them is 100,000 yuan. Dropped into my room in about 9 seconds by the son of a man who was once the richest person in the country. 6,666. Ah, is that the real one? A carnival is 3,000. 33 is 100 grand. Who fakes that? Who spends 100,000 yuan pretending to be somebody's son? Ha ha ha. Does Principal Wong also have that problem? Now I am watching under my real name. Here's the mechanic, and it matters. Gifts drive heat. Heat drives exposure. Exposure drives random users into the room. 100,000 yuan of gifts is a rocket motor bolted to the side of a broadcast. Viewer count went past 200,000. I thanked him with the professional warmth of a man who has just been handed 100,000 yuan by a stranger. Thank you, Principal Li, for the 33 carnivals. Very generous. Principal Li. Your stuff is really good. Let's have a meal sometime. Absolutely, principal. My pleasure. I agreed instantly, and not because of the gifts. When something this hot appears, offline distributors start knocking. The Wang family had come down in the world, but a thin camel is still bigger than a horse, and their connections were still their connections. For a man who wanted to break a domestic monopoly, a meal is cheap. Also, and I want to be delicate, the man had, by his own public statement, used the product. The chat noticed. Wait, he said it's really good, so he's tried it? Very likely. Principal Lee has never lacked company. Occupational hazard. What level am I? Using the same product as Principal Lee. He left without another word. I followed him back from the official account, and then finally got to say what I'd been trying to say for 6 minutes. To everyone who couldn't get one today, I'm sorry. To stop hoarding, we're capping it. 20 boxes per order, maximum. Agreed. Honestly though, scalpers, for this, may all resellers be cursed. Don't you also have that scar cream? Tell us about that. By 8:30, we'd sold every unit of scar cream we had, and, unexpectedly, 4,000 orders of a supplement we'd developed as a companion product, a recovery formula for afterward, 99 yuan, which had also been sitting in a warehouse being ignored for a year. That's 350,000 from a product nobody had ever asked about. Total for the night? Over 2 million yuan. Total for 3 days? 3.5 million. Against the top live stream sellers in the country, that's a rounding error. But there's a catch nobody mentions when they quote those numbers, and the catch is this. Their problem is finding buyers. My problem was that I could not physically manufacture fast enough to meet the demand of people who were begging me to take their money. That is a much better problem. That is the best problem in commerce. Anyone who hasn't folded yet, follow. We go live every night, 5 to 9, and there will be new products. The follower counter started climbing again while I was still talking. 500,000. Zhang Hao watched it go and did not attempt to hide his face. The rest of operations looked like they could already feel the sun on their shoulders. The next morning, I walked into my own lobby and found roughly 40 men in suits sitting in it. They saw me. Every head turned at once. Then they stood up in a wave and came at me. Mr. Xiao, we've been waiting. I'm the regional manager for Kangda Pharmacy in Shanghai. Someone physically shoved him aside. He Cheng, Southern Regional Rep, Zhongshan Pharmacy. Mr. Xiao, we had dinner together once, do you remember? Gao Yang, Purchasing, Donglin Hospital. I own the Shufeng adult products chain. I took several steps backward and put a hand up. And then I looked at them properly and it landed. I knew these faces, all of them, every one, because 2 years ago, when I was trying to get my products onto shelves, I had bought these men dinner, repeatedly, with my sales director, in restaurants I could not afford, and back then they had not been enthusiastic. They had been gracious in the specific way that means no. They were the customers, they had the confidence of customers, and if they'd proposed unequal terms, my company would have had to sign them. Some of them still hadn't paid their final balances from the first order. Now they were in my lobby before 9 in the morning with their tails between their legs. That is so real. That is the realest thing in business. I nodded, perfectly calm, and gestured to the receptionist, who was frozen behind her desk like a woman watching a stampede from a hedge. Take these gentlemen to the main conference room. Yes, Mr. Zhao. Gentlemen, this way please. They filed out. Mei Li materialized at my shoulder with the face of someone enjoying herself enormously. They came at 8 in the morning to settle their outstanding balances. Very proactive. Didn't we expect this? So real. This is exactly what businessmen are like. What are you going to do? Let them air dry. Tsk, you hold a grudge. I raised an eyebrow. You've turned against the heavens. Talking to me like that? She was already running. I just remembered I have a thing. Bye, boss. I let them sit for an hour and 10 minutes. When I finally opened the door, not one of them looked annoyed. Composed, I thought. That's a professional skill. I walked to the front of the room and skipped the pleasantries entirely. I know why everyone's here, so let's speak frankly. First, you've all seen the demand. There is no risk of the product not selling. So, going forward, every product from Linshan Pharmaceutical goes in the window and on the eye-level shelf. Now, if you don't know the retail pharmacy game, shelf position is not an accident. Those spots are bought, sometimes with discounts, sometimes with cash, and the staff are often quietly incentivized to recommend certain brands when a customer describes a symptom. Those positions belong to the giants, which meant what I had just asked them to do was offend Huimei Pharmaceutical. Personally, the pharmacy managers exchanged looks and got very interested in the table. Then the adult products chain owners spoke, and God bless them, because they had no such conflict. No problem at all. Customers come in asking for your product by name. We're going to make you our anchor brand this quarter, Mr. Xiao. Don't worry about it. The recovery supplement has legs too. I'll hold a meeting when I'm back and bundle them. Sincerity. Beautiful thing. Their entire competing inventory had become unsellable overnight, so pushing mine wasn't loyalty, it was survival. And I'll take survival over loyalty every single time, because survival is reliable. I turned back to the pharmacy men. He Cheng broke first. No problem. I can clear space specifically for Linshan Pharmaceutical. And then they all went, one after another, like dominoes with regional sales territories. Kangda has no issue either. Mr. Xiao's products are incredible. Let's all make money together. But I wasn't finished. I smiled at them, friendly as a church, and said, secondly, regarding channel management, and for the next half hour I laid out terms on inventory, on after-sales handling, on qualification standards, on payment schedules that were, and I want to be precise here, deeply unfair. They gritted their teeth and signed. Everyone. What could they do? I had the only thing anyone wanted, and there wasn't enough of it. I bought them lunch. It felt very good. Back in the office, I called Mei Li in. She'd been dressing differently since she started hosting. That day, it was a pink striped shirt under a white vest, and the general effect was of somebody who had recently been paid. Where are we financially? Including this morning's collections, total turnover is approaching 12 million. I'll send you the breakdown. 12 million. 9 days earlier, I had been calculating how many months I could make payroll. If a thief hadn't gotten arrested in the most public way possible, I would currently be sitting in a bank lobby with a folder, explaining to a loan officer why my patents were valuable. You'll have to work hard for a while longer. 3 extra days off at the end of the month. She beamed and pressed a hand to her chest. It is my duty to share the boss's burdens. Does the boss look like a fool to you? How's the boss? Does he look like a fool you've successfully tricked? I have no notes. She's very good. That evening, the factory hadn't finished inspection, so we had nothing to sell. We went live anyway and just talked, and the room was still packed, which I found genuinely moving in a way I did not admit out loud. Then the screen flashed. Somebody was requesting a video call. I saw the handle and started laughing before I even clicked accept. Chen Guoliang's enormous face filled half my screen. Hey Lei, Mr. Lin! A dream collab. Historic meeting. Guoliang, why are you still looking down your nose at the camera? You know nothing. This is my last act of defiance as emperor. Brother Guoliang, how have you been? How have I been? He slapped his own chest. Nothing on his face moved. I have to thank you, Mr. Xiao. I can finally hold my head up in my own household. And then, to demonstrate, he turned away from the camera and shouted into his own apartment. Xiao Juan! Xiao Juan! A woman's voice from off-screen, deeply unimpressed. What? Bring me a basin of water for my feet. Can't you see I'm busy? The head of the household wishes to wash his feet. Hurry up! He turned back to the camera, shaking his head sadly, like a man burdened by leadership. It was, and I say this with respect, entirely staged. He had rehearsed that, possibly with her. Uncle Wong is awesome. Damn, did they give him a script? I love scripts. Give me more. Brothers, take notes. This is the bearing a head of household should have. A role model for us all. That product has made a great contribution to family harmony among ordinary people. As someone who's been there, a harmonious marriage genuinely matters at our age. When Mr. Xiao takes this global, he's getting a peace prize. Ha ha ha, a peace prize for that. It does kind of make sense though. He was, I have to admit, extremely good at this. Every 12 seconds he produced another quotable line, each one worse than the last. Something about how if it weren't for marriage law, he felt he could take on 10 of them. Something about how in ancient times he could have founded a tribe. The platform moderators started flashing warnings at us. Our stream got muted twice. I ended the call myself, in self-defense. Ha ha ha, Uncle Chen is sowing discord among the moderators, recklessly flirting with the edge of a permanent ban. Super admin, we're doomed. This guy has mastered the internet. I was laughing so hard my mother thought I was having an episode. Then I hit the random match button because the room was still full and I had nothing to sell. And a girl in a maid outfit with short blue hair appeared on my screen. Delicate features, heavy beauty filter, and the second she loaded in, a specific slice of my audience went completely insane. It's Nana, the peak of that cosplay in this country. My wife, my wife, my wife. Nana is mine, get out. I had no idea who she was. None. I am a man who spent his 20s in a laboratory, but you don't need context when 400,000 people are screaming. Hello, can you hear me? She pouted, nodded in a way that was clearly a trained motion, and said, in a voice pitched about 4 notes above her natural one, I saw your profile picture before. You're the boss of that men's product store. I coughed. Ha ha ha, one sentence and Mr. Zhao has completely lost his composure. Nana is so cute. Most embarrassing moment of the year for Mr. Lin. Lily, it's a shame to meet you this way. Young lady, I said with enormous dignity, our company's products are not limited to that one. Really? Every video I've seen is about that one. Big data. That's a big data problem. Oh. What the hell is a big data problem? That flat, slightly stupid "oh" contained her entire opinion of you. So it's big data's fault. Sure. What else does your company make? She asked. I had a jar of scar cream in my hand before she finished the question. This, our flagship. It's extremely effective, and it's especially good for people prone to keloid scarring. And her face changed. She gave me a smile that was not a real smile, and she said, Scar cream. Can it remove this kind of scar? Then she lifted the wig away from her right eye and turned her face to the camera. There was a raised red scar at the corner of her eyebrow, about as thick as a thumb. Her own fans knew about it. Half the internet knew about it because 2 years earlier she had documented the entire failed surgical process on video. Multiple rounds of treatment. 2 to 300,000 yuan, and the scar kept coming back. She had eventually sued the hospital that operated on her. That case had been a national story. Could you turn the beauty filter down? Oh. She did it without arguing, which told me she wanted an answer more than she wanted to look good. And the filter came off, and I saw the thing properly. Blood red, dilated capillaries clearly visible across the surface, irregular, raised, hypertrophic. If she didn't cover it with hair, it would be the first thing anyone saw when they looked at her face, and it would be the only thing they remembered. Here's what nobody in that chat knew. That scar cream had been developed to a military specification for combat wounds, not inspired by, written against. 10-centimeter inflammatory black scarring, fully repaired inside 10 days. What I was looking at was, technically speaking, a nothing, a warm-up, a single-serving problem. Okay, that's enough. You've had surgical scar revision? Right. It worked at first and then it came back. That's exactly right. And then I picked up the box and held it to the lens, and I did something that made my public relations department age 4 years. This is 200 yuan a bottle. Use it for 1 week. If the scar is still there, or if it comes back later, Lin Chen Pharmaceutical will pay for your scar revision surgery. All of it, at any hospital you choose. I keep my word, and 300,000 people in this room just heard me say it. Holy crap! It's on fire! It's on fire again! Testimonial from a buyer. 2 days of use, and most of the acne scarring on my back has faded. It genuinely works. Is it really? She spent nearly 300,000 on surgery, and a 200 yuan tube fixes it? Are scar clinics just closing then? I don't buy it. I bought imported scar patches once. They were mediocre, and they cost more than this. 7 days. Let's just wait 7 days and stay skeptical. The internet split roughly in half, and the skeptical half was, to be fair, being reasonable. It is not generally possible to erase a large hypertrophic scar in 7 days without a scalpel. I smiled at 300,000 people and made it worse. All right, how about we let everybody watch? We're launching a challenge. Rules are simple. Anyone using our scar cream, film a daily video log of the whole process. If the scar hasn't gone after 1 week, submit your log and you get exactly what Lily gets. We pay for your surgery. The chat stopped scrolling and started strobing. 66,666. That confident? I feel like I've just been shown off to. Confident men are so attractive. This challenge is free money no matter what happens. 200 yuan for a shot at fixing something that's ruined your life. That's a win-win for a lot of people. The real story is 7 days. If that's true, that's a revolution in the entire aesthetics industry. Mr. Xiao, keep a low profile. You're taking food out of people's mouths. The higher you stand, the harder you fall. Watch out. That last one aged like a prophecy. Because here's what I hadn't fully appreciated in that moment. The men who owned the scar removal industry were about to watch me hand away their most profitable procedure for the price of a nice lunch. The older men in my chat had a slightly different concern, which they raised immediately and with real panic. Mr. Xiao, take it easy. We cannot live without your other product. Somewhere in the middle of this, Lily had opened her mouth into a small O and left it there. She had not expected me to do that. Nobody had. And then I watched her realize what had just landed in her lap. Because Lily was, at that moment, stuck. 500,000 followers and flat growth. Cosplay is a niche, and a niche has a ceiling, and she had hit hers and could feel it. She had been watching my company and Chen Guoyang go vertical while she posted good work into a room that had stopped filling. And now, the biggest story on the internet had reached out and personally handed her a 7-day narrative arc. I accept the challenge. The moment the stream ended, it went everywhere. Can a 200 yuan cream fully repair scarring in 7 days? Lin Chen Pharmaceutical's boss challenges the entire internet. Is Lin Chen Pharmaceutical about to detonate the medical aesthetics industry? What exactly is Lin Chen Pharmaceutical's background? Are cheap products ever actually good? I'm a user of their other product and I trust this man 100%. +1. +1086. Unbelievable. A men's supplement company has a fan club. A lot of people don't understand what fully repair hypertrophic scarring in 7 days actually means. Human metabolism has limits. Can this drug break physiological law? Lin Chen Pharmaceutical is genuinely unhinged. They've made themselves a target for the entire internet. But what if it's true? If it's true, every absurdly expensive imported product on the market is finished, overnight. Which would be a good thing, if it's true. Right now, a lot of people are waiting to watch this man humiliate himself. I was packing up to leave when Zhang Hao came into my office with an expression of such shameless adoration that I nearly asked him to leave. President Xiao, nearly half of the top 20 trending topics are about us right now. That move was brilliant. Supervisor Zhang, are you this open about flattery these days? I was absolutely not flattering you. Every word came from the bottom of my heart. If we ride this wave properly, we are going to take off. And then he told me why he actually believed it, and this is the part I want you to hear. He had, a few weeks earlier, taken a jar of the scar cream home on a whim. His son had fallen as a small child. There was a scar across his knee, big, raised, the kind you stop noticing on your own kid. Doesn't hurt, doesn't matter. Except it does, if that kid ever wants to fly, or enlist, or do any of the several careers in this country that will look at a scar like that and say no. He'd taken the boy to specialist hospitals, named ones, expensive ones. Nothing had worked. So he'd brought the jar home in the spirit of a man with nothing left to lose. 2 days later, the raised ridge had gone flat and the color had faded. 7 days later, the skin over his son's knee was new. Tens of thousands of yuan of surgery, beaten by a smear of ointment applied at bedtime by a father who had stopped believing in solutions. He told me all of this standing in my doorway at 9 at night, and at the end of it he said, "That was when I knew I'd joined a remarkable company." I said something dismissive because I am not good at that part, but I remember it. I remember it very clearly. Across the city, a girl in a Lolita dress let herself into a luxury apartment in Shanghai carrying a small package and cut it open with a knife. The box was pale blue and better designed than a 200 yuan product has any right to be. Inside was a small blue bottle. She unscrewed the cap and squeezed out a bead of clear blue gel and held it to her nose. Faint fragrance. Then she propped up her phone and hit record. "My darlings, it's arrived. We're starting. Day 1. It's cool going on. Comfortable. As for results, I feel like there are fewer capillaries on the surface. But I don't know if I'm imagining it. Day 2. There's a faint burning, and last night when I went to bed I got a shock. The capillaries on the surface are completely gone. Day 3. Is this not insane? Look right here. It's flattening. I can barely feel the ridge. Day 4. And while she was filming, everybody else who had bought a jar started filming too. Because I had structured it so that participating was free money. If it worked, you got your scar removed for 200 yuan. If it failed, you got surgery paid for by a company with a 1 billion yuan contract. There is no version of that bet where the customer loses, and roughly 40,000 people worked that out simultaneously. Some of the entries got a little enthusiastic about what exactly they were showing the camera. I'm going to move past that quickly, because the platform review team did not, and because my legal department made a face I still think about. The men's product had a similar problem, in that a very large prank channel with 5 million followers announced a challenge involving it, filmed the challenge, and posted the results. I watched about 40 seconds of it before I turned it off and said, out loud, to nobody, "The world is going to the dogs." It got 500,000 likes in 5 hours, 200,000 comments, a 2.5 to 1 like to comment ratio, which for anyone who doesn't speak analytics is a number that means the video is not merely popular, it is spreading. Mei Li coughed twice, very delicately, and said, "President Xiao, I've spotted another business opportunity here. Go on." He had a sponsor, a product placement deal, inside a video about our product. Yes? So we should be doing that. Bundles, partnerships with adjacent categories. She put a printout in front of me before I could ask. Monthly sales figures for the top 3 stores in a category I will describe only as adjacent. The leaders were doing 15 million a month. Bundle with them, and even when this wave dies, we're a permanent fixture in the category. And they'd be desperate to work with us right now. I clapped my hands together, which startled her. That's completely right. And not just those. There are whole venues where… Boss. Those are illegal. Right, yes, so obviously we don't supply them directly. But we set up authorized retail points near… Xiao, you're a genius. She looked at me with the expression of a woman who has just been given credit for a plan she did not make and would not have made. In my defense, I had spent 3 years in a laboratory. My commercial instincts were, at that stage, roughly those of a very intelligent otter. I called the market department and told them to go do field research, find out what people in those categories actually use, find out what our reputation is there, and bring me real numbers, not vibes. They brought me back a report 6 weeks later that I will get to, and that report is one of the strangest documents I have ever read. Then the internet had a civil war, and I want to be clear that it was not my war. I did not start it, and I ended it. And for that, I was awarded a nickname I have never been able to shake. Short version. The prank channel's challenge video included a joke about a certain abstinence forum, a large, extremely earnest online community of men who had made not doing a thing into an identity, complete with rank levels and check-in streaks. They took it personally. Thousands of them. They mass-reported him. Coordinated. The moderator pinned a call to arms. Within 9 hours, the video was gone from the platform, and then his older videos started going too, which was, strategically, a catastrophic mistake, because the rest of the internet had been having a great time, and now the rest of the internet was annoyed. He posted an apology, cut the segment, asked people to stop reporting him, and then several million bored strangers who had been enjoying a comedy and now perceived an injustice opened their personal archives and invaded that forum. I'm not going to describe what they posted. You can work it out. The moderators couldn't delete fast enough. They raised the posting level requirement to 6. It didn't help. They raised it to 12, which on that platform takes months of daily check-ins to reach. It kept coming. And then the moderator watched a thread go up from an account wearing an administrator badge, his own deputy. He clutched his chest and, I am told, made a sound. The platform banned the entire forum at midnight to make it stop. I found all of this out the next morning, and I did what any reasonable person does, which is sit down with a coffee and enjoy it. Then I went live that evening and discovered that 4,000 homeless abstinence forum refugees had moved into my live stream. President Lin, we were wrong. Please help us. Tell them to stop. We were wrong. We were really wrong. Please have mercy. Wah. Ha ha ha, the forum guys came here to beg? My account is banned. I have nowhere to go. You reap what you sow. I sat there looking at a chat I could not sell anything into, being asked to personally end an internet war between two groups of strangers over a comedy video about a product I make. I do not have the power to command men. I sell ointment. But if this went on for another 2 nights, it was going to cost me real money, so I cleared my throat. I only have a general understanding of what happened, so let me lay out my personal opinion. First, he shouldn't have made that joke about your forum in the first place. That's real. Second, you didn't send a representative. You didn't ask. You didn't warn. You charged. That's not right either. That video had a paying sponsor. It's been deleted, which means his client now wants an explanation from him. So in plain terms, you have directly damaged a man's income. To be even plainer, that is coordinated harassment, and depending on how a court felt that day, it is a crime. He's a prank channel. If your community felt insulted, you send someone, he apologizes, he edits it, it's over in an afternoon. Instead, you made this enormous, and now you've eaten the consequences, and you're the joke of the entire internet. And to the brothers currently carpet bombing that forum, the internet is not a lawless place. Enjoy the drama, stay rational. The chat went quiet for about 4 seconds, which at that scale is an eternity. Finally, somebody said it. He's right on both counts, and I hate it. Learn from history. Stop attacking your own countrymen. If you're that brave, go be brave at a foreign website. A whole mob just because a moderator howled once. Ridiculous. Since Mr. Xiao has spoken, obviously I have to give him face. Ha ha ha. This is the man who holds the happiness of the nation's men in his hands. Fine. For Mr. Xiao's sake, we'll let them off. I, Emperor of the Archives, hereby give President Xiao face. And then the gift effect started firing again. Bald Wang is gifting you a Carnival X1. Bald Wang is gifting you 2 carnivals. Bald Wang is gifting you 10 carnivals. A request to connect. From the prank channel himself. I accepted, and a man in a fake bald cap appeared on my screen and greeted me with the warmth of somebody's uncle. Hey, Mr. Xiao. Hello. 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 I pointed at my own screen. Bald Wang, what is all this? Sorry to intrude, Mr. Xiao. I'd like to use your stream to apologize to the forum. Is that all right? I agreed instantly, partly to be gracious, mostly because I wanted them out of my room. And to his credit, he did it properly. Dropped the entire clown persona, said he'd cut the segment, said he'd pin his apology, said it plainly and without a joke in it. It's very hard to stay angry at someone who is being sincere on camera, and the internet, for all its faults, does eventually respect a straight answer. The chat softened. Sigh. We were impulsive last night. Sorry, Baldy, for the trouble. Now I'm embarrassed. Brother, you're a real man. Thank you. My fault. Shouldn't have piled on. Handshake, handshake, handshake. And then somebody typed the sentence that would follow me for the rest of my life. I hereby declare that this man possesses the face fruit. His face fruit is terrifyingly strong. Face fruit, you son of a. 2 mobs fought all day and reconciled in a medicine stream. Well, when your products directly affect the happiness of every man in the country, I get it. It's that product again, isn't it? I sat there and chuckled to myself with the camera on. I sell ointment, and apparently I can now end wars. That night, the trending list read like a fever chart. Face fruit user Xiao Ming, the man who influences the happiness of the nation's men. Bald Wang and the forum reconcile. Face fruit, Xiao Ming's remarks. Meme encyclopedias added entries. The battle of the archives. The darkest day in that forum's history. Face fruit user. All 3 became permanent internet vocabulary, and all 3 had my company's name attached to them for free. At 3 in the morning, we crossed 1 million followers. At 6 a.m., 1.2 million. At 8 a.m., 1.5 million. And while all of that was happening, on a completely different part of the internet, a girl was quietly filming her 4th day. Day 4. My darlings. This is with the filter completely off. She turned her face to the light. The damaged area was almost the same color as the skin around it. You could see 2 things happening on her face at once. Excitement, because the thing that had defined her adult life was ending. And shock, because the thing that ended it was a 200 yuan tube of ointment. And then, on camera, she started remembering things. High school, classmates. If you didn't have that scar, you'd have guys chasing you. Look, it's the scarred old woman again. Actually, you're really pretty. It's just the scar. It's fine. You just need to be more confident. The girls who comforted her and then laughed about it afterward. The boys who theorized about how she got it. She grew her hair out to cover it and stopped showing her right eye to anybody for years. Scars don't hurt. What people say about them does. After graduation, she worked, and she cosplayed on the side for extra money, and she saved. And when she had enough, she went and found a reputable scar clinic and put every yuan of it on the table. The doctor told her it was a stubborn hypertrophic scar sitting close to the eye, and that surgery carried real risk. She said do it. The surgery went beautifully. On the doctor's recommendation, she spent tens of thousands more on imported repair cream. And then, while she was still celebrating her new life, granulation tissue started climbing back across the site. Worse than before. She went back and demanded an explanation. The hospital told her it was her own aftercare. She had not skipped a single step. She had been terrified of skipping a single step. So she went public, showed her face, showed her right eye, showed the scar, and told the whole story online. It became a national story for about a week. The hospital never resolved it. They went to court. She lost. She was convicted of disturbing public order. All of this came back to her while she was pointing a phone at her own face on day 4, and her nose went red, and she started to cry. She tipped her head back to keep it in, and then she smiled at the camera anyway, with her whole face wet, which is the single most undignified and most human thing a person can do. It had been such a long road, and it looked, finally, like it might be ending. Her comment section did not survive it. "Don't cry, honey. Mwah!" Heartbreaking. Nobody knows what she went through to get here. We'll always support you. And underneath the fan noise, the observers finally spoke. "I've been following this girl's blog for 2 years. That cream is a miracle drug. No wonder he was so confident. He had the goods. Better than surgery, and it costs 200 yuan. The medical aesthetics industry is about to have the worst quarter of its life. That's a good thing. Half those clinics don't have proper credentials. Some of them get one certificate and start cutting people. Same thing happened to me. In the end, they paid me some compensation, and that was that. Ordered mine, now I wait. Day 5. Look, it's the same color as the skin around it, and when I touch it, it feels smooth, like new skin. Day 6. My darlings, look at 460. Can you see it? Wait, let me turn the filter off. Okay, high definition, no censorship. Look carefully. Can you see even a trace? I'm so happy. I haven't been this happy in so long. Day 7. In the 7th video, her hair is tied back in a ponytail. Her entire face is visible, both eyes. She looks about 4 levels more beautiful than she did in video 1, and none of that is the scar. Confidence does that to a face. So, the recording actually ended yesterday. But to finish Mr. Xiao's challenge properly, I decided to record one more. This one is a thank you video. That's all. And then she bowed. A full bow to a phone on a tripod for a long time. When she came back up, she said, "I want to thank the cream. I want to thank Lin Chen Pharmaceutical. I want to thank Mr. Xiao for making something this good. Honestly, my high school years, my university years, all of it was spent around this scar. I was insecure and hypersensitive. Anytime somebody looked at me, I assumed they were looking at it. When I talked to people, I would turn slightly, so they got the other half of my face. I haven't worn my hair up in a very long time." Her eyes went red again. She breathed in and held it. She had written pages of things to say. She had a whole speech. In the end, she just smiled at the camera the way you smile at something in front of you and said, "So, thank you, really. I have watched a lot of marketing content in my life. I have made some of it. That was not marketing. That was a person handing back something she'd been carrying since she was 15. Sister is so beautiful. The girl who didn't dare show her eye is never coming back. I'm crying, actually crying. That cream is incredible. This company is incredible. From today, anyone who insults Lin Chen Pharmaceutical, I will tear them apart. The men's product users were already diehards. Welcome to the club. I got a VIP card back in week 1. Jealous? You wretched brat, don't show off." And behind her, every other person doing the challenge started posting. Day 5, and it's basically invisible. Just wanted to ride the wave and say thanks. Day 6, I cannot wait for summer. I want to wear a short skirt. 3 days and the little scar on my son's right cheek is gone. Medicine this good for 200 yuan. This company deserves to get rich. Commentary channels started filing. Is this the flagship of the domestic pharmaceutical industry? They're more than a men's supplement company. A 200 yuan cream outperforming a 30,000 yuan import, earthquake in cosmetic surgery, and the culprit is an ointment? Mei Li and I were reading the same thread over the same phone. President Xiao, 4 days of results like that. Tonight is going to be a bloodbath. Isn't that what we planned? She glanced at me sideways. How many units a day can the line do? Around 12,000, which is nowhere near enough. It wasn't. I was already building a new factory, but a factory is not a purchase. It's a construction project with a schedule and inspections and a concrete cure time. 12,000 was our ceiling, and that ceiling was only that high because I had stopped every other production line in the building and pointed everything at 2 products. That night, 600,000 to 700,000 people were in the room, and the chat was physically lagging. The men's product went up, and 50,000 boxes were gone in 3 seconds. I've been trying for 10 days. 10. Physical stores are out too. Switch off 3G, bro. I got 20 this time. I'm set for months. Where's the cream? Put it up. I'm in a hurry. Because everyone who had been waiting to see had now seen. 200 yuan. Severe hypertrophic scarring. Gone in days. You have to understand who was watching. People without scars do not know what having one does to a life. Young women with knee scarring who won't wear shorts in July. Men who grew beards over things. Mothers of children with facial burns who had been quietly saving for a decade. Mei Li announced the drop. All right, everyone. In 1 minute, the cream will be 20,000 jars. Our entire remaining warehouse. Question mark? That's it? Is it genuinely this hard to buy ointment? A week ago, I could order this whenever. I was going to stock up. It was gone before my thumb landed. Serves you right for waiting to see. A few days ago, we had thousands left unsold at the end of the night. Now, 20,000 evaporates. Please don't raise the price. This price is the whole point. Mei Li put her palms together and apologized to the room with genuine feeling. Promised more than 10,000 jars a night and asked people to try again tomorrow. And if I can't get one tomorrow either, Why not just do pre-orders? This is agony. Pre-orders. Ask your boss. Agreed. She called me after the stream. I was at the R&D center out past the ring road. Pre-sale. What's your read first? She thought about it for a beat, which is why I asked her first. We're the hottest thing on the internet. Pre-sales convert that directly into cash flow, immediately. And the new factory is short of money right now. It solves part of the funding gap. Go on. But the risk is public opinion. If order volume goes far past capacity, we'll have people who paid and are waiting. And if enough of them get loud, black becomes white, and the reputation we just built takes the hit. That risk is real, I said. So we'll do it, but the crisis plan gets written first. Get the PR head on it tonight. And before pre-sale opens, we set a shipping priority standard. Severe cases first, exposed areas, face, neck, arms first. There were 100 ways to slice that, but survey the customers before we announce it. If the majority object, we drop it and ship in order of purchase, and we publish an estimated delivery date per order from the back end. There was a pause on the line. President Xiao, you really are amazing. You've thought of everything. Xiao Yao, your flattery is getting stiffer and faker by the week. Study some acting. Ha, you're very direct. When have I ever changed course? Heh. Then, after a moment, in a slightly different voice, by the way, that new product you mentioned, how is it coming? Because months earlier, back when Hume was quietly strangling us, and I was doing arithmetic with a minus sign, I had told her that if the new thing cleared testing, this company would have a backer that no pharmaceutical giant on earth would want to argue with, and I had never once told her what it was, which had been eating her alive. Final testing phase. Don't worry about it. Have I ever built something that didn't work? Then I'll wait to see it. She had no idea, not the faintest idea. She thought I meant a better skincare line. While the internet argued about ointment, a beauty channel with 6.5 million followers put out an analysis video that turned out to be almost exactly right. Let me briefly game out Linchin Pharmaceutical's future. If hypertrophic scarring can be repaired that perfectly, then there will be dedicated formulas for larger surgical scars. Cesarean scars, major abdominal surgery scars, that market is enormous and completely unserved. And if I were the boss, I'd immediately launch derivatives, acne treatment, cleansers, masks. The young beauty market would swallow it whole. And the most important point, if they can actually deliver all of that at this quality, aesthetic clinics may genuinely have to close. Ya Nan is right. After her scar healed, that patch of skin is better than the rest of her face. Add metabolic ingredients and it's over for every skincare brand. What even is the cleanser I'm using? It claims volcanic oil control. It controls lard. My face is a desert. The victim speaks. Please keep the price reasonable. Chen Guoliang, meanwhile, had 3.2 million followers and had signed with a real agency, and his agency wanted him on this wave immediately. So he broke his own schedule and went live at 4 in the afternoon in front of an audience largely composed of people who show up specifically to cause problems. He pointed his nostrils at the camera as usual. First. Why does the streamer have 2 holes in his eyes? Trim your nose hair. Why is the Emperor live so early? Did you have a fierce battle last night and only just wake up? Uncle Chen, thoughts on the cream? Any explanation? The cream is nothing. The other product is the real deal. He smiled a small smile. Then he produced, from somewhere off camera, a feather fan. An actual feather fan. Like a strategist in a historical drama. So, this cream everybody's talking about. Honestly, I predicted this. I believe the brothers who've used the other product share my view. Unbeatable price. Genuinely amazing results. Same principle. Same company. How could it be bad? The fact that Mr. Xiao dared to challenge the whole internet tells you everything. That confidence reminds me of my own, back in the day. However, the cream may be effective, but in terms of value, it will never compare to. Are you cosplaying a strategist with a broken fan? Look at yourself. You got this worked up because I said you're fat. I understand now. Uncle Chen's logic is illogical. Keep going. I'm listening. You've been a clown so long, you can't take the mask off. He was completely unbothered. All right, let's talk properly. First, I said that product makes society more stable. Yes, because after buying it, my marriage is happier. Happier marriage, stable family. Divorce rate goes down. I am a living example. Small example, big picture, a more harmonious society overall. Second, reach. Only a small number of people have visible scars, and frankly, men don't care about scars on their hands or legs. But if you're middle-aged and on the decline, that's a problem involving at least 2 people. Third, I'm not well educated, but that seemed to make sense. Oh no, I think my logic has been stolen. Somebody with an education, please say something. Such a serious face. Such a broken argument. Nobody caught the key point? At least 2 people? Uncle Chen, be honest with us. He looked at the surge in his follower count and smiled like a man who has everything under control, which he did because the agency had briefed him and the brief was good. Pick a fight, take the criticism, generate heat. And in my building, Zhang Hao watched that beauty channel's analysis climb into the top 10 trending topics, touched his own thinning hair thoughtfully, and decided the moment had come. He posted a short video from our official account, and he tagged her. Haha, actually our products are built to meet the standard for battlefield wound repair, so major surgical scarring is well within scope. And then he added added a cute little emoji at the end. The internet came apart. What? What did they just say? Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. No wonder it works that well. What kind of person am I to be buying a military-grade product for 200 yuan? So that's where his confidence came from. I questioned this company for a week. I am the clown. I have always been the clown. Here is why that landed like a bomb for anyone who doesn't live in this industry. Military specification is not a marketing phrase. It's a torture test. The product has to work in heat, in cold, in humidity, after transport, after storage, in the field, on wounds nobody planned for. Anything that clears that bar is, by definition, superb. And the specific gap it landed in was this. Domestic hospitals were importing silicone-based scar treatment from overseas at 80,000 yuan per unit. 80,000. 400 times what I was charging. And the state was spending over 1 billion yuan a year on that line item just for battlefield scar repair. Not because anyone wanted to, because there was no alternative. 20 minutes after Zhang Hao posted that video, my phone rang with a number I did not recognize. Hello, Xiao Ming speaking. Hello, Comrade Xiao Ming. This is Wu Chi-min, Director of the Health Service Department, Southern Military Region. I let a small, entirely genuine smile onto my face, and then I said with total innocence, Director Wu, hello. Is there something I can help you with? Meanwhile, somewhere else in the country, several extremely wealthy men were watching their appointment books empty out. Because scar revision is one of the most profitable procedures in cosmetic medicine, and the reason is elegant. It requires multiple sessions. Each session runs 5,000 and up. During the process, the clinic sells you repair products at their own margin. Layer on consultation fees, service fees, follow-up fees. Once you're in the chair, they're not finished with you until your card stops working. And I had just replaced the entire pathway with a tube of ointment that costs less than dinner. If a customer is not actively unwell, why would they ever walk into that clinic again? So the clinics panicked. And panic, in men with money, does not look like fear. It looks like a budget. One evening, Mei Li finished washing up, got into bed, picked up her phone, and opened a Q&A forum she used every day. A post caught her eye immediately. I haven't bought the scar cream yet. Is it actually as good as the reviews say? She tapped in and read the top answer, and her eyebrows came down. It's a laxative. I'm sitting at home. I got this 5 days ago. Screenshots of an order, photos of an unboxing. Very thorough, very credible looking. My scar's on my collarbone, about 5 centimeters, not inflamed. I'm not keloid prone. It's mild. See photo. Day 1, slightly irritating smell but acceptable. No visible fading. Maybe I'm using it wrong? I'll continue tonight. Day 2, slept on it. Effect still not obvious. Some keratin flaking on the surface. Honestly, plenty of 40 yuan creams do that. Day 3, I can't say there was no effect, but it's very hard to notice. I feel cheated. There is so much marketing around this, and I bought it because everyone else was buying it. 2 more days and then I'm done. Day 4, allergic reaction. My neck is covered in red rash. This is military grade. I have to question their QC. Day 5, still there. Liar, liar, liar. I'm not upset about 200 yuan. I'm upset at myself for having hope. I'm going back to a clinic, and I reserve the right to sue Linshen Pharmaceutical for fraud. 1 hour old, nearly 100,000 upvotes. Mei Li knew exactly what she was looking at. We had both known this was coming. You cannot vaporize a 1 billion yuan procedure category without somebody buying a keyboard army. What made her angry was how cheap it was. The photos were generic. The rash was a filter. The timeline didn't match our absorption curve. This is such low-effort garbage, and it has 100,000 upvotes. Then she opened the comment section, and her face changed, and then she folded over sideways on her own bed, laughing so hard she couldn't breathe. Because it turned out, the internet had already handled it. Are these people just making life hard for themselves? Everyone, come look. We found an exception. Did you consider that you might not be the same species as us? Is that why it didn't work? Film the whole thing. You think we'll believe 2 photos? Do we look stupid? Verification complete. What an idiot. This got 10,000 upvotes. Could those 10,000 people post their purchase history? They're anxious. They're so anxious. Come on, we've been online for a decade. Try something new. If it doesn't work for me, then the problem is me. She had genuinely expected a pylon. Most internet users don't have a position, they have a direction, and the direction is whatever the loudest person is pointing. Instead, she watched 40,000 strangers defend a company they had discovered 11 days ago because that company had done exactly what it said it would do, twice, in public, on a deadline. She scrolled a long way down before she found the paid ones. Only just realizing Linshen Pharmaceutical is a marketing company? An ointment replacing cosmetic surgery? Everyone here is thinking too simply. Check whether that cosplayer has business dealings with them. If you want to make men's supplements, make men's supplements. Why meddle in aesthetics? With marketing that good, someone's going to come for you. Underneath those, brothers, another paid one. Report it, reported, reported, reported. She refreshed the page. They were gone. Serves them right. It was not just that forum, of course. It was everywhere at once, which is the tell. Coordinated smears look coordinated. The professional versions ran chemical composition analyses. The lazy ones grabbed stock photos of rashes off a dermatology site and captioned them. Look closely. The people buying a 200 yuan cream are people who haven't made much money and are hunting bargains. Hasn't society taught you that cheap things are never for ordinary people? For 200 yuan, I'd rather eat hot pot. Here's their customer service reply when I said it didn't work. They demand a video log. I'm an office worker. I get home at 10. I'm supposed to spend my energy filming? 10 reasons Linchen Pharmaceutical is a marketing company, not a pharmaceutical company. And it worked. Not on our buyers, on the ambient crowd. Enough of the uncommitted middle started to hesitate. The next morning, I did not come to the office. Mei Li had to convene the PR department herself on no notice. She put out the only statement available. The challenge stands. If the product was ineffective, submit a complete video log. Linchen Pharmaceutical will cover all subsequent SCAR revision costs. Our people showed up on the spot. Don't worry, fans always support their own. I expected this. There's a huge pie on the table. Nobody sits still and starves. This smear is so low effort, I don't understand who's buying it. Hold on, Linchen. Guys, we genuinely cannot let a decent company get taken out like this. But she knew. She could see the trajectory. If this ran another week, the company taking the loss was mine. She called me. I gave her 4 words. Wait for me to come back. That was it. That was the entire call. And she told me later that the flatness of it, the sheer lack of concern, was the thing that stopped her hands shaking. She hung up, took a breath, and told herself, let the bullets fly a little longer. Because compared to what this company had endured, being quietly suffocated for 3 years, what was a bad week online? And now we had all these people. On my end, I had hung up the phone in the back seat of a military off-road vehicle that had just cleared its 3rd checkpoint. It rolled to a stop. Mr. Xiao, we've arrived. The driver, in camouflage, turned around to say it. I got out into hard, flat sunlight. Somewhere off to my left, squads were drilling. Somewhere further out, something enormous was idling. The low grinding note of a vehicle engine that does not belong to civilians. I had never been on a base before. I want to be honest that I found it thrilling in a slightly childish way. At the end of the road was a 5-story building with more architecture than it needed, and in front of it, in a white coat, stood a middle-aged man with excellent posture and the specific unhurried air of somebody who has never had to introduce himself. He came 2 steps forward and put out his hand. So this is Boss Xiao, handsome and promising. They didn't exaggerate. Director Wu, you're too kind. Come, let's talk inside. The room was long and narrow, and there were 5 men in it, all wearing glasses, all going gray, and I did a quick inventory of the faces and had to work to keep my expression flat. They had flown in the leading figures in the field, from across the country, to look at ointment. I did not mind. If the military is going to bet 1 billion yuan on whether a private company's product genuinely meets a battlefield standard, they should absolutely bring people who can call me a liar. Director Wu closed the door and began introductions. Mr. Xiao, this is Professor Li Ming, Biomedical Research, Academy of Sciences. I bowed slightly and shook the hand. Being young in a room like that is a resource. Spend it on manners. Professor Li, hello. Also from the Academy, Professor Zhao Kai. Professor Zhao. And this is the Academy's academician, Dean of Dijing University, head of the Institute of Biochemistry, Professor Zhou. I got to the 4th man and stopped, and I said, should I call you Professor Zhou or teacher? The room went quiet in a specific way. Director Wu's eyes moved between the 2 of us, and then Professor Zhou started laughing. These days, everyone says professor. Only the ones who actually left say teacher. He turned and pointed at me and told the room. He was my student, a genuine chemistry prodigy. He swept every top scholarship in the department. He completed 4 years of university credits in his 1st semester. I wanted him to stay on after graduation. He insisted on going home to help his family. What a pity. And the regret on his face was completely undisguised, which is the part that mattered, because everyone in that room knew exactly how stingy Professor Zhou was with praise. Ordinary students did not register. He had never called anyone in living memory a genius out loud. I watched 4 separate men recalibrate me in real time. Then I opened my briefcase, took out a document, and handed it to Director Wu. This is the development log, full process standards, all of it. Teachers, please. They put their heads together over it for an hour and a half. Occasionally, somebody would raise a question, and I'd answer it before they finished asking, which is rude, and which I did anyway. And then the noises started. That's a beautiful idea, using glutamic acid to stand in for the amino base. He discarded the gel-forming product and purified out something completely new. Genius. That's genius. Why do I suddenly feel like I don't know what a molecule is? I want to note that those sentences were spoken by the most senior chemists in the country, out loud, about my homework. I kept my face completely still throughout, because I had known what they would find. I wrote it. Director Wu raised a hand slightly. My cue. I put the clinical footage on the projector. This is the full trial process. Stage 1. The ointment forms a film across the specialized tissue of the scar. Stage 2. And finally, repair and regeneration factors rebuild the dermal structure. Every stage, dosage ceiling, dosage floor, control arms, failure conditions. There was not a seam in it anywhere. Professor Zhou watched his old student running a room full of academicians and let a very small, very satisfied smile onto his face. I thought this kid would waste himself going home, he was thinking. And instead, he went home and built all of this by himself. Geniuses cannot be judged by ordinary standards. That's the full manufacturing standard, I said. Compared to the foreign equivalents, ours has better all-round coverage. The only real weakness is, I paused. Our packaging design is still a bit weak, but it only sells for 200 yuan. Somebody in the back actually snorted. This kid's arrogance is worse than yours was at that age, one professor said, pointing at Professor Joe. Professor Joe pushed his glasses up his nose. They're arrogant because they've earned the right. Young people should be like this. Well said. Director Wu coughed and stood. His eyes went around the table. 5 men gave him 5 small nods. He walked 2 steps forward and put out his hand. You've come a long way. Everything's settled on our end. I took it. It'll be a pleasure working with you. It'll be a pleasure working with you. Half an hour later, I signed my name. Total contract value, 1 billion. Military prepayment, 300 million. 10-year supply agreement. I had walked into that building as a man whose company was being called a fraud by 100,000 accounts, and I walked out of it holding a piece of paper that made every one of them irrelevant. Afterward, Professor Joe and I walked down one of those enormous straight roads that bases have, teacher and student, several years late. Sounds like your company's in trouble. It's making a lot of noise out there. My products affect certain people's interests. It would be abnormal if they did nothing. He thought about it for a while, and then he said the thing he had clearly been building toward the whole walk. I know you don't like asking for favors, but if I help you, there's no favor involved, so there's nothing to ask. I understood exactly what he was offering. Professor Joe is a dean and an academician. In the biochemical world, his network is not a network, it is a weather system. He asks, people are delighted to help, but I just smiled. It's honestly not that serious. And I lifted the contract folder about 10 centimeters. This solves it, because a military order is not an argument. It's not a rebuttal. It's not a press release. It's a fact, and facts do not have a comment section. That's true, he said, though you're still exactly as stubborn as you were. I remember trying to keep you at the university and being turned down like a door-to-door salesman. Ha! But looking at all this now, maybe going home was right. That evening, while I was signing paperwork, Lily and Chen Guo Liang did a joint stream that neither agency had to be talked into. Hello, Lily. Hello, Uncle Chen Guo Liang. They were, at that moment, the 2 most famous customers of one company in the country, and the war of words was still going, and the traffic was there for the taking. Chat fed him the question, and he asked it immediately. Miss Lily, rumors online say there are problems with Mr. Xiao's cream. Your view? She dodged sideways. What about you? Haven't you used their products? He went into indignation like a man stepping into a warm bath. The Gova, the other product, is definitely fine. I have absolute trust in that company. My brothers can testify. I may not be the smartest man alive, but I'm not stupid. This is a rival stirring things up. So Mr. Xiao, just go. Let's do this. Uncle Chen is doing a good job not doing anything stupid today. Well, the other product got him back on his feet. He has 3 million followers and 9/10 of them came from this company. What's he going to do? Criticize it? The episode where Uncle Wang showed the most loyalty. Then Lily pointed at a spot slightly above her eyebrow. 10 days earlier, there had been a raised, blood-red, hypertrophic scar there. There was now skin. My entire recovery was witnessed by the whole internet. So my position on the cream is the same as yours. I trust it unconditionally. If every person on Earth says it's bad, I will still never say it. Anyone who says it's bad is my enemy. And some people are saying I took money from Mr. Xiao, which is ridiculous. To the people making wild guesses, I, Lily, would like to say, and she said something I am not going to transcribe. Great spray. The simplest profanity, the purest satisfaction. My wife is cute even when she's swearing. I can't stand it. Honey, don't be angry. Support. Justice will prevail. Support. Justice will prevail. Meanwhile, in my building, Mei Li was running a live stream through the worst chat of her career. The men's products still sold out. 50,000 units. Gone, as always. But the room was hostile in a way it hadn't been, and she was announcing the cream countdown with her stomach in a knot. 3, 2, 1. 10,000 jars, live. She could not make herself look at the back end, so she looked at the chat instead. And then she just stared. Hey, didn't you people say you were going to wait and see? Why can't I get one? When do pre-orders start? This is agony. I give up. You lot smear the cream in public and buy it in private, don't you? It's ointment, and you're 800 times craftier than me. The cream is really no good, everyone. Please slow down your orders. Haha, I got one. I don't need it. But as a user of the other product, I felt it was necessary to support them at this time. Mr. Xiao said he wants to take that product to the world stage. 200 yuan of support is not unreasonable. I am filled with utmost respect. That's so positive. Who could have predicted that a group of middle-aged men buying that product would say something genuinely inspiring? At the same time, in a private room in a high-end club in Shanghai, a slightly overweight man with slicked back hair and a pale complexion was watching that exact stream on his phone. He watched an ineffective product sell out in under 3 seconds and did not react at all. Around him, 6 men were losing their composure. President Wang, it seems our approach isn't working. We spent a lot on PR, exactly as you advised, and their sales are still incredible. I think this is going to be genuinely difficult. We don't know where this kid came from. He just appeared and threw a curveball at all of us. At this rate, the SCAR teams in every one of my clinics are finished. Wang Jian did not move. He had, in fact, expected all of this. Mei pharmaceutical is a giant. Anti-infectives, neurology, respiratory, digestive, cosmetics, supplements. Walk into any pharmacy in the country and their logo is on 4 shelves. If you want an analogy, in this industry, they are what the biggest platform is to the internet, possibly more. Which is why, when my first products entered the market, it had taken him almost no effort to make my life impossible. A word here, a shelf there. A distributor reminded of an old friendship. He had not been trying to destroy me, he'd been waiting. Squeeze until either the patents come cheap or the company sells itself into Huime at a discount. And then a man got arrested for theft and blew up his entire timeline because Wang Jian had seen the samples. Huimei's R&D department had gotten hold of my products before they ever reached market. He knew exactly how good they were. He had known before the public did. And now he had to watch a thing he considered rightfully his become the biggest pharmaceutical phenomenon in the country's history, priced at 200 yuan by a boy who wouldn't take 500 million. If that cream were Huimei's, he could sell it for 2,000 easily. To a young person with facial scarring, 2,000 yuan is nothing. It's a phone. He could have made 10 times the revenue on a fifth of the volume, and this kid was giving it away. He was, by his own later account, in physical pain about it. President Wang, say something. Yeah, we're all waiting on you. Because these 6 men had not organized themselves, Wang Jian had introduced them to each other. The entire smear campaign was 6 clinic chains pooling money on his recommendation, and now they'd spent close to 10 million yuan on nothing and were getting nervous. He looked at them the way you look at furniture. Then he reached into his jacket and took out a blue and white box and set it on the table. Everyone looked at it. The words "Golden Spear" were printed across the front. Mr. Wang, what do you mean by this? He yawned and snapped his fingers, and a woman in a cheongsam came over from the corner. President Wang, look after these gentlemen properly. Of course. Then he stood up. Don't worry. Tomorrow's the main event. I've already arranged for some influential people. Just wait and watch. He gestured at the box. As for tonight, you should all try their product. It's really very good. Then he left them there, and outside on the pavement, he lit a cigarette and said to nobody, these vanguard troops are going to get themselves killed. But he really is useless. The man owns a dozen stores and can't handle the most basic thing. Pigs that ride the wave are all this stupid. I want you to hold on to that sentence, because roughly 2 months later, the pigs went to prison, and Wang Jian went somewhere considerably worse, and both of those things happened because of that night. 10 p.m., I came back. Every seat in PR and operations was still occupied, because Mei Li had kept the building lit. And, to be fair to them, for 2 full days, while the company was being publicly accused of fraud, the boss had been unreachable. That is not a good look. That is, in fact, the classic look of a man packing a suitcase. So when I walked through the front door, the receptionist snapped awake at her desk and her whole face changed. Mr. Xiao, you're back. I am. Thank you for the long hours. And then the building went off like a firework, because Mei Li had told them one thing and one thing only. When President Xiao comes back, this is over. She came out of my office at a full run and stopped because there was a crowd moving down the corridor and I was inside it. Meeting room, everyone, I have something to announce. I didn't stop walking. She had been awake for something like 40 hours, and she said later that all of it left her body at once. Yes! The next morning, the accusations were still coming. By then, the discourse had settled into 3 distinct populations, and I want to lay them out because this is the anatomy of every internet fight there has ever been. Population 1, our people, chose to believe without reservation and went to war on our behalf. Some had bought the cream and seen it work on their own bodies. Some were men who had recovered something they'd assumed was gone forever. Some were, and I say this with affection, simply fans of my face. Population 2, the paid campaign, running out of 6 clinic chains with Wang Jian's fingerprints somewhere upstream. And crucially, an unpaid volunteer army who joined for free because a man like Chen Guoliang getting rich makes a certain kind of person genuinely furious. And that fury needs a door, and we were the door. Population 3, everybody else. No position, no stake. Wanted a fight, the bigger the better, and would congratulate the winner. At 10 in the morning, Population 2 got a general. Xiao Ming is one of the 4 biggest commentary channels in the country. Millions of followers. His business model is elegant. Chase every trending topic, produce a video that sounds professional, deliver a conclusion the audience finds reasonable. His team is normally careful. Anything genuinely controversial, they let settle first and comment afterward. That is how you keep a channel alive for 6 years. They did not wait this time. Somebody had paid enough that his floor became flexible. Glasses, hands folded on the desk, thin hair combed with dignity, the precise visual grammar of a man about to be reasonable at you. Yesterday, I saw many of you asking me to comment on the controversy around this cream. It's caused quite a stir. Now the company has issued a statement saying their challenge stands, but that hasn't actually resolved anything, because what people care about is not the challenge. Most people, even if the product fails them, will simply give up. The product isn't expensive, and the cost of pursuing redress is too high. And compared with the company's earlier marketing, which claimed military-grade manufacturing standards, continuing to talk about a challenge feels a little like dodging the question. Here, Gao would also like to advise everyone, verify carefully when shopping online. online. Beware false marketing. Don't buy on impulse. Even a few dozen yuan is hard-earned money. And finally, Gao hopes Linchen Pharmaceutical will provide convincing evidence soon to put this war of words to rest. That is a beautiful piece of work. I want to give it its due. Not one falsifiable claim in it. Nothing you could sue. Every sentence is a question mark wearing a suit. 10,000 comments in under an hour. Teacher Shuesong has spoken. I listened to the internet and impulse bought 200 orders. Now I regret it. Have to say, that company's fans are extremely pure, more organized than actual celebrity fandoms. Their stock sold out again last night. There are just too many brainless people online. From now on, every manufacturer should just become an influencer company. Marketing is all that matters. Sell garbage, people buy it. How much did he get paid? Xiao Ming. I appeared to uphold justice, while actually accusing them of false marketing. You didn't see it coming, did you? Nothing is settled and you're already being snide. If your position is crooked, don't cosplay righteousness. Another huge channel joins. This is going to get exciting. Let's see who's actually fighting. Seems the face fruit doesn't work on influencers this size. That was his home turf, and on his home turf our people got shredded. His fandom is enormous and his moderation is aggressive, and every defense of my company got buried, deleted, or ratioed inside 4 minutes. I want to say something about those people. They were right. They knew they were right. They knew because they had put it on their own skin or their kid's knee, and they were being told by a man with a nice desk and a professional voice in front of 50 million people that they were dupes. Some of them were typing with their hands shaking. I know this because they told me later. So they came to our page and begged, please issue a statement. We trust President Xiao. We trust Linchen Pharmaceutical. The innocent are cleared eventually. Anyone who's used it and has a conscience knows what to choose. I'll support you forever. I'll buy every product you ever launch. 1 hour after his video, the hashtag hit number 3. 2 hours after, number 1. Nearly 50 million views on the discussion. Noon, and then my official account posted a video. The title was one word, oh. The video was 3 photographs. Photograph 1, the header page of a contract. Party A, the Health Service Department of the National Military Region. Party B, Linchen Pharmaceutical Company Limited. Photograph 2, a section of the terms. A 10-year annual supply obligation. Total value, 1 billion. Deposit of 300 million to be paid within 3 months of signature. Photograph 3, the signature page. The counterparty's name blurred. The red seal beside it was not. That was it. That was the entire response. No statement, no press release, no defense. 3 phone photos of a piece of paper on a desk and 1 word. Oh. Here is why it was fatal. Nobody forges a military contract. Nobody. Not for a news cycle, not for a fandom war, not for any amount of money. Because the consequence isn't a lawsuit. It's a very different sort of conversation in a very different sort of room. Which meant there was exactly one available conclusion. Every claim my company had made from the first day in every live stream was true. The 200 yuan ointment genuinely met a military standard, and the reason that landed so hard has nothing to do with military prestige and everything to do with the price of the imports. 80,000 yuan a unit, purchased abroad, at scale, every year, because there was no alternative in this country. There was one now. The internet came off its hinges. This response is insane. Confident people don't need to argue. This man. I've never seen a contract at this level. How many zeros is that? I'm dizzy. I'm illiterate. Can somebody tell me loudly what these photos prove? I'll grant your wish exactly once. It proves the marketing was accurate from day one. It proves the cosplayer wasn't hired. The product is fine. Anybody who got one early, use it immediately. Big brother, you spoil him. You have no idea how pent up I've been for 4 days. May every troll be born impotent, beyond the help of even Golden Spear. Brother, ruthless. Bald Wang commented with a picture of himself picking his nose. You old rascal, you're on every front line of every fight on this internet. At Xiao Ming at Sun Ji, you 2 influential gentlemen, sure you don't want to delete those videos? Your direction has serious problems. I think this warrants a lawyer's letter. I've been winning for 2 days and I'm still angry. I'm going back to find the trolls from Monday. Slaughter everywhere. And there is a thing about internet fights that I only really learned that afternoon. For the first 11 days, we had been ahead, comfortably. Only that morning, when 4 or 5 channels the size of Xiao Ming's had opened up simultaneously, had our people found themselves outgunned. 2 hours. That's how long it lasted. 2 hours and 1 word. There's a specific comparison the gamers made, and it's the best description of it I have. You're ahead all game. You get careless once, you lose a major objective, and the enemy team starts taunting you across the map for 10 straight minutes. And then you win 1 fight, 5-0, and walk straight into their base. And when it's over, you type one thing into all chat. Oh, in our cafeteria, the food went cold on every tray in the building. Nobody was eating. Everybody was holding a phone. The trolls have gone quiet. Wait, why were those forum posts deleted? I just saw them. Our legal department already screenshotted everything. Don't worry. And then Zhang Hao climbed onto a cafeteria table, physically climbed, at 45 years of age, in a company canteen and shouted, "Military orders no problem for you. Mr. Lin is awesome," which is not a slogan. That is not even a sentence. And 200 people picked it up anyway. President Lin is awesome. President Lin is awesome. Invincible. Doesn't matter who comes. I had been sitting in a corner of my own canteen trying to eat lunch quietly, and I want you to know that Mei Li, who had been sitting directly beside me, had already vanished. No sound, no warning, gone. Left me alone in the light. The noise went on for a long time. I finally raised a hand and it stopped. And I understood the noise, honestly. I had been in business 3 years and I had never once won a fight this cleanly, and neither had any of them, and neither, in fairness, had most people. The night before, when I came back with the contract, we had made a decision in that meeting room that I want to describe properly. We had the contract at 10 p.m. We could have published it at 10 p.m. We did not. I told them, we're going to win, and we're going to win spectacularly. The bigger the waves, the more the fish are worth. The storm hasn't peaked yet. Half the operations department did not sleep that night out of pure anticipation. And in the morning, when Xiao Ming and 4 others opened fire and drove the topic to #1, when the attention on this was at its absolute maximum, when 50 million people were watching, when our own people were being humiliated in public, and nobody in the country was looking anywhere else, that is when I pushed the button. I did not show mercy, and I want to be clear that this was not restraint. It was patience. They are extremely different things, and only one of them is nice. Standing in my cafeteria with 200 faces turned toward me, I let the silence sit for a few seconds. Then I said, team building, Friday, bring your families. We'll vote on the location in the work group. They lost their minds again. Woo, long live. Mr. Lin, you're so handsome. Every company I've ever worked for, and this is the only one that does team building on a weekday, and we vote on it. Off to the side, Mei Li watched all of it and thought about 4 words on a phone call. Wait for me to come back, and found that the man they belonged to had gone, in her head, from her employer to something with a light around it. By 1 in the afternoon, we owned the trending list. Lynch and Pharmaceutical signs mega military order. The most impressive episode in domestic scar treatment. Who exactly are Lynch and Pharmaceutical's competitors? How good is this cream? False marketing, malicious advertising, all of it dissolved by 3 photographs. Xiao Ming's team went dark immediately and called an emergency meeting, and the conclusion took about 4 minutes. Delete the video. Because the thing about a two-faced position is that it only pays while it's ambiguous, and the moment it stops being ambiguous, it costs you followers by the 100,000. And here's where I want you to appreciate the craftsmanship, because his haircut was genuinely well built. It never asserted. It expressed concern. It even ended with, we hope they can prove they've been wronged, which reads, at a glance, like sympathy. Anybody in the business knows what it actually is. That's a knife, held sideways, described as a gift. So his team refunded half the fee to the client, kept half, they did the work failed, that's the industry standard, and at 3 p.m. they posted a short video with 2 points in it. Point 1. Warm praise for Lynch and Pharmaceutical for issuing such a swift and decisive statement. Point 2. A tactful apology for his earlier unauthorized speculation. The comments were not warm. The most heartfelt episode Teacher Gao has ever filmed. You start an enormous controversy and then just post a statement? Can I stab you and then apologize? Have to hand it to professional commentators. They are extremely good at euphemism. Wait, where are his fans? They were loud this morning. Are they selectively dead? In gratitude to the Face Fruit user for his past assistance, the abstinence forum has arrived to lend support. +1, +2. The forum guys are on the battlefield, and everyone assumed that was the end of it. Statement, apology, move on. That's how this always goes. Then my company posted one more line. We're already preparing the filing. Watch for your lawyer's letters. At Xiao Ming, at Sunji, at, and a list. Holy crap, is Lynch and Pharmaceutical going all the way? Most satisfying episode ever. That tone is so mischievous. If Lynch and Pharmaceutical doesn't have the money for the lawsuit, open the cream pre-orders. We'll crowdfund 1 billion points for you. Crowdfunding a lawsuit, ha ha ha. Hunt to your heart's content tonight at Xiao Ming. Old man thinks he can show off and walk away? No. I wasn't doing it for damages. I want to be precise about the reasoning, because this was the first genuinely deliberate act of my career. The regulator was going to fine those clinic owners. Fine, that's their business. But Xiao Ming and Sun Zhi have millions of followers each, and one sentence from either of them can put 50 million eyes on a lie. If the cost of doing that to a company is post an apology when it doesn't work, then the correct commercial strategy for every rival I will ever have is to do it every single quarter. So this had to cost something, visibly. Once. Once is enough. Once is a notice on a door. Also, in the interest of honesty, it was my first lawsuit as the head of this company, and I wanted to win it beautifully. Meanwhile, in Shanghai, Wang Jian got a call from his own front desk. Mr. Wang, 6 gentlemen are here to see you. They say there, tell them I'm busy. Tell them to go home. Of course. He hung up and checked the internet. He had not expected the military order to close that fast. He'd assumed the standards disclosure was bait to attract military attention, which was correct, and he'd assumed it would take another 2 days, which was not. He sighed, picked up his phone, dialed. Hello, is this the Market Supervision Bureau? I'd like to report something. Downstairs in his own lobby, 6 men who had spent nearly 10 million yuan of their own money on his instructions sat on a sofa by the window and stewed. They had worked until 3 in the morning, driven over, and been refused at the desk. I feel like we've been used as pawns. That bastard. I've never taken a loss like this in my life. I'm not leaving. I want an explanation today. If he doesn't come out, I'm not leaving if the King of Heaven himself asks. And then several people in very good suits walked across the lobby toward them, and the one in front held up an identification card. Shanghai Market Supervision Bureau. There has been a report of bribery of paid commenters, malicious competition, and market disruption. Please come with us. They had been sold by the man who recruited them, from 4 floors up, at approximately the speed of a phone call. The City News Channel published it that afternoon. 6 owners of chain aesthetic institutions summoned for questioning, full confessions to bribing paid commenters and disrupting the market, combined fines exceeding 26.5 million yuan, and 30 days detention. The platform pinned it to the top of the trending list within the hour, which is not something platforms do by accident, and not one of the 6 named Wang Jian. Why would they? If you burn the man who introduces you to every partner you have, how exactly do you continue to exist in this industry afterward? And even if they had, Kui Mei is one of the largest taxpayers in Shanghai. The amount they pay annually is several times these men's entire net worth combined. It comes to nothing. It always comes to nothing. Our people found the news in 25 seconds. Retribution came that fast? Any business owners here able to comment on this fine level? Feels low. Not the boss, but I work in legal at a large firm. That's roughly the statutory maximum for this category. The billion yuan fines you're thinking of are monopoly cases, and clinic chains don't qualify. Money's secondary. Their reputations are gone. Those institutions are finished. Can I say they deserved it? Amazing, bro. Lily posted within the hour, cosplaying an ice blue character from a game I have never played, looking pitiful on purpose. My darlings, I genuinely never took a single yuan. My ancestors were all laborers. I spent everything I had on that lawsuit. I've been living on rice for 2 years. I'm terrified of being poor. Honey, I always believed you. My wife's turnaround is so fast. You're cosplaying an ice goddess and delivering lines like a bankrupt uncle. Linshan Pharmaceuticals fans came to say thank you for standing by us during the worst of it. +1. Plus 10,086. She gained enormously off it. By that point, she was at 1.2 million followers, double what she'd had 2 weeks earlier, from a company she video called by accident. And then Bald Wang and Chen Guoliang released a joint video, and I need to describe it because I have never fully recovered. 2 men, 2 naval officer coats, both of them cosplaying admirals from a pirate anime, standing with their backs to the camera, each pointing one thumb at the enormous character for justice printed across their shoulders. Then extremely aggressive visual effects and original dialogue of a quality I would describe as fatal. Your era is over. This is absolute justice. The dead are silent, and the defeated have no right to speak. Gravity Blade, Fierce Tiger, combined with the fact that one of them is a balding 45-year-old man with a regional accent who became famous for stealing. It was genuinely one of the funniest things I have ever seen produced by human beings. A dream collab. Golden Spear players. Don't misunderstand. Men who use that product are not this superhuman. Linshan Pharmaceutical. Please do not misunderstand. Our product does not affect your mental state. 2 admirals. I was on a date and I laughed like an idiot and she is not answering. Is there any job you 2 can't do? 50,000 likes in 10 minutes. And sitting in my office watching those 2 grown men do that, I finally admitted it out loud. They were talents, actual talents. My company gave them material, and they gave my company the entire country. And neither side had ever signed anything requiring the other to be funny. Then somebody knocked, and Mei Li came in with 2 documents. President Xiao, these need your signature. The first one I had commissioned 2 weeks earlier, and I want to talk about it for a second. It was called the Sunshine Project. Any child under 16 with visible scarring on an exposed area, arms, face, neck, calves, gets the cream from us. Free. Not discounted, not subsidized, not apply and will consider. Free. Permanently. No cap. The plan in front of me had the whole distribution mechanism worked out, the verification process, the hospital partnerships, everything. I signed it without reading past the 3rd page, because I already knew what it said, because I had asked for it. Then the second document. Oh, right, the field research. You will recall I had sent the market department out to investigate our reputation in certain adjacent venues. They came back with this. Some customers report that these venues do not permit use of the Golden Spear product. Deeper investigation indicates that service providers objected to the strength of the effect, which impacted service efficiency. Following widespread objection, the product was banned on premises. Many guests expressed strong dissatisfaction and have taken to using the product before arrival. These consequences have directly caused an increase in the resignation rate among service workers and a notable decline in available market labor. I read that 4 times. The man who wrote that report is a genius, an absolute genius. He turned a situation of extreme delicacy into a labor economics briefing, declining market labor force. He wrote that in a memo to me. I sat there with my mouth doing something involuntary and thought, I have, apparently, been improving working conditions in an industry I was not attempting to enter. Whether the net effect on society was positive, I genuinely could not tell you. The women in question mostly left and did something else, which is good. Where they went and who they married is not my business, though I gather several honest men in several provinces had an interesting year. I abandoned the retail expansion plan on the spot. There is no point building a distribution point next to a venue that has banned your product. I signed the report, handed both documents back, and asked about something that actually mattered. How's the search for the law firm going? She held the documents against her chest, which is what she does when she's about to do something. I can handle that. You know a top-tier legal team? I'd say fairly impressive. How impressive? She tipped her chin up and considered it with enormous seriousness. They should be better than the legal department at a certain famously undefeated internet company in Shenzhen. Now, that company's legal team is a legend. Their reputation is that for a period of years, they never lost a single case in their home district court. And while some of that is certainly the home field, the team itself is genuinely first-rate. That is the benchmark. That is the ceiling in this country. And my 22-year-old assistant had just claimed to have a better one on speed dial. I looked at her with new eyes. All right, it's yours. Don't worry, boss. I definitely won't let you down. I'll get them in front of you as soon as possible. That night, the stream broke 1 million viewers for the first time. 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, 1 million in 10 minutes and straight to the top of the platform. And bear in mind what we are. We are a live stream that sells medicine, not fashion, not food, not entertainment. Medicine for 2 specific problems, neither of which most people have. The gift effect started before I got a full sentence out. Bald Wang is gifting you a Carnival X50. Chen Guoliang is gifting you Carnival X20. Lily is gifting you Carnival X10. Principal Lee is gifting you 100 carnivals. 2 other enormous streamers I had never spoken to, 100 each. They're all top-tier players. That's over 1 million yuan in gifts. What level am I to be sitting in the same room? And then, Xiao Ming is gifting you 100 carnivals. Whatever? Sunji is gifting you carnival times 100. That's hilarious. Both of the old men from the video are here. He used to strike hard. Now he is humble. I could not read the names off fast enough. I gave up and had someone kill the gift function entirely. And then I said the sentence that ended up on merchandise. Everyone, please stop sending gifts. Linshen Pharmaceutical has the money to fight this lawsuit. Question mark? President Lin. Arrogant. Absolutely arrogant. So you're going to use your ultimate at point-blank range, huh? My husband is so handsome. Fans, this year has been long. Give them a beating. Xiao Ming and his friend are completely stunned. Our boss does not fall for that. Trying to be friendly now? Too late. Face fruit users don't hand out face to just anyone. He truly seeks revenge. I didn't put stock up. There was no point. Everything sells out in 3 seconds regardless. And I had a room with 1 million people in it who had been at war on my behalf for a week. So I answered questions instead. If the cream is only 200, do you make anything at all? That's not accurate. It genuinely meets a military manufacturing standard, and we still sell it, so obviously we're making money. Plainly, even selling to you at the VIP price of 160, our margin is close to 30%. Don't worry about us. Also, this market has 1.3 billion people in it. My original intention was to make good products that ordinary people can actually afford. That intention hasn't changed. You actually said it. I'm going to cry. Drug development runs into the tens of thousands per unit, and this man prices like this. A company with a conscience. Mr. Xiao, have you considered producing a novelty drinkware line? Please calm down. We are a pharmaceutical company. We have no plans in that area. When do cream pre-orders start? We're working on it. Daily output is limited. We can only consider it once the new factory is fully operational. Mr. Xiao, are you married? Like everyone, I want to focus on my career while I'm young. I'll think about the rest later. Why is the first win of the day called a first win and not a first victory? This question is too outrageous. I have no way to answer it. Your thoughts on the whole public opinion incident? I didn't answer that one immediately. I sat there for a second, and the room noticed, and went quiet in a way a million-person chat almost never does. I used to firmly believe that quality was the thing that opened a market, that if you made something good enough, that was sufficient. I've since learned that bad money driving out good is not an exception. It's the default state. So when I get an opportunity to hit back, I'm not going to hold anything back at all. Then, because that was heavier than I wanted the room to be, I picked up a small sign from beside my chair with a cartoon sun on it. All right, I have something to announce. To thank everyone for supporting this company, as of today, we're launching the Sunshine Project. Any child under 16. If you can provide evidence of visible scarring on an exposed area, face, neck, arms, you receive the cream from Linshen Pharmaceutical, free of charge. 6666. 6666. Support. Witnessed. Positive energy. As a fan of this company, I feel proud. Lily reposted it to her own page and pinned it. It was the only thing she had ever reposted to her personal account. Chen Guoliang followed. Bald Wang followed. 4 new trending topics inside 2 hours. Friday arrived and the weather cooperated, which felt almost sarcastic. The resort was a good one. Officially, it was a team-building event. In practice, Mei Li had scheduled precisely nothing, because she had correctly identified that after the month those people had, the single most valuable thing you can give them is an entire day with no plan in it. Some went up the hill to look at the flowers, some occupied the card room, some just sat in the sun in groups of 5 and did nothing at all, gloriously. I arrived late, found a quiet corner, lay down on a deck chair, and fell asleep in public for the first time in 3 years. At some point, I registered somebody sitting down next to me. "What are you doing over here?" I said without opening my eyes. "President Xiao, you knew it was me?" I did not say it was the perfume, because there is no version of that sentence that improves a working relationship. "You've been covering for me for months. You can't afford to lose the authority you built." Ha! That was not the answer I expected, and it was better than the one I expected. "And what about you? You're normally a considerate boss. Aren't you going to go be sociable?" "No point. It's a day off. However nice I am, the moment I sit down at a table, everyone straightens their back." She laughed, and there was something under it. "So it seems the two of us are fellow sufferers, keeping each other company." I opened my eyes. She had her hair down over her shoulders, slightly curled, catching the light. Sunglasses pushed up into it at an angle that had clearly taken several attempts. Careful makeup on a face that did not require it. An orange t-shirt cut off one shoulder. The general effect was of a person who had gotten up 2 hours early on a day off. She caught me noticing and did not say anything and settled into the chair beside me and pulled the sunglasses down over her eyes. "By the way, President Xiao, are you free tomorrow?" "I am." "Good. The firm's already arranged it. They're sending someone tomorrow. You don't get a Saturday." Business is business. I let it sit for a second. "So which firm?" "You've been holding this over me all week." Her mouth curved. "Yuan Yu." I sat up. I knew that name. Everybody who has ever been near a contract knows that name. Yuan Yu is not a large law firm. Yuan Yu is an institution. Domestically, they take graduates from exactly 2 universities. Internationally, they take graduates from the global top 50. Getting an internship there puts you in a rarefied percentile of the human population. Their record is absurd. They built their reputation representing domestic companies in disputes, and the most famous single entry is that they once represented a small game studio against that famously undefeated internet giant and took $1 billion yuan off them in that company's own home district. That case is taught in law schools specifically because it is the stain on an otherwise perfect record. Then they moved into transnational disputes involving the largest corporations on Earth and, as far as anyone can determine, never lost. And then, and this is the part where it stops being a law firm, they have represented this country in negotiations on multiple pieces of international law. That is not top 5 in the country. If they are not first, nobody else can claim to be. I knew all of this for a specific reason, which is that one of the founders, an attorney named Lin Yue, was my senior at Dijing University. She came back once as a distinguished alumna to give a speech, and before she spoke, the university played a slideshow of her career that ran nearly 20 minutes and did not finish. Also relevant, Yuan Yu does not take small domestic commercial disputes anymore. Partly the money is beneath them. Mostly, it's beneath them. Me suing a commentary channel and 6 clinic owners, and hiring Yuan Yu to do it is using naval artillery on a mosquito. I looked at Mei Li again. "How do you know anyone at that firm?" "This one? You have a relative there?" She waved a hand grandly from behind her sunglasses. "Don't worry, she'll definitely give me face. I'll negotiate the fee down for you." I didn't push. I opened my phone instead and did the thing I do reflexively now, which is check what the country thinks of my company today. The Sunshine Project was already sliding. Still on the list, but below 50th. It's not a big budget program. It only trended at all because I announced it personally. What was still going strong was people asking me to manufacture novelty drinkware. And then something caught my eye. A video titled Records from a Luxury Car Owners Group. Normally I'd have scrolled past, but the tags underneath it had my product name and my company name in them, which car owner groups do not typically discuss. 200,000 likes, 30,000 comments, a minor hit. I opened it and it was screenshots from a group chat. And after about 4 exchanges, I understood that the field research report had not been exaggerating and that this problem had spread nationally and that a significant number of extremely wealthy men were now conducting logistics around my product in ways I do not wish to think about. I put the phone face down on my chest and looked at the sky for a while. This is genuinely not my fault. The comments underneath were, if anything, worse than the video. So do we thank President Xiao or blame him? Thank, obviously. Competitive pressure improves service quality. Spoken like a true capitalist. This is an education, brothers. Uncle Chen already said half a pill. You people are obviously taking a whole one. Everybody wants overtime, and nobody's paying for it. I closed the app and said, out loud, to nobody, "I'm tired. Let it all burn." Chen Wuliang, naturally, filed commentary within the hour, in which he declared that he had personally never visited such an establishment, that the behavior in the screenshots was understandable, but frankly unethical, that if you're going to do a thing, you should negotiate the terms in advance, and that dosing yourself in secret is exactly like making somebody work overtime without paying them. He is, and I say this with enormous respect, the most reliable moral philosopher in this country, and every word he has ever said has been wrong. The next day, I got to a private room in a good coffee house early because I take meetings seriously and because I had two agendas. Agenda 1, win the lawsuit. Agenda 2, if this relationship works, it works again. And if it works again, then the next time I am standing across from Xiao Pharmaceutical, I have something in my hand. Because I want to be honest with you about my situation at that moment. On paper, I looked like a man with the military behind him. In reality, I had a supply contract. That is a customer, not a patron. Wearing a tiger skin does not make you a tiger, and Xiao has enough reach in this country to find that out inside a week. Once the new product cleared trials, that calculation changed entirely, but it hadn't yet. Mei Li got up to go to the restroom. Roughly 40 seconds later, somebody knocked. I opened the door and found a woman of about 40, casual black clothes, neat short hair, regular features, two vertical lines between her eyebrows that had been earned rather than aged into, an enormous, unmistakable presence. I froze because I knew that face, attorney Lin Yue, my senior from Dijing University, founder of Huan Yu. I had expected them to send a lawyer. I had expected an ordinary lawyer. And I want to clarify that at Huan Yu, ordinary means somebody who would be treated like visiting royalty at any other firm on the continent. Instead, a legend in the profession had personally come to a coffee shop about a defamation case involving a skincare product. And while I was processing that, she was looking at me. Not glancing, looking. Head to feet and back up, slowly, with the frank, appraising thoroughness of a woman checking whether a thing is structurally sound. It made my skin itch, and I could not have told you why. Hello, Attorney Lin? Please, come in. She came in without asking how I knew her face, turned and scanned the room. Xiao Yao's in the restroom, I said. Let's start on business. Good. I handed her the file our legal department had built. She sat and started reading at a speed I found personally offensive, and I sat there thinking about it. A founding partner of Huan Yu, personally, for this, for a minor dispute. Could it really be the relationship I'm now considering? Because if it is, why is Mei Li working at my company at all? Something about this does not fit together. Then the door opened. Mei Li came in smiling and saw who was sitting at the table and stopped dead in the doorway like a woman who has walked into a wall made of glass. Lin Yue glanced up, registered her, and went back to the file. Mei Li unfroze, crossed the room very fast, put both hands on the table beside me, and arranged her face into something extremely well-behaved. My suspicion at that point escalated considerably. The three of us sat in silence. It was one of the least comfortable silences I have ever participated in. Mei Li broke first. How come it's you? Lin Yue did not look up. I had some free time. I thought I'd come and take a look. Oh. And I watched Mei Li mouth silently at the side of her head the word liar. Before I could work out what to do with any of that, attorney Lin Yue turned a page and said, without any change in tone whatsoever, So how far have things progressed between you two? Mei Li. Question mark? Me. Question mark? There was a pause of considerable length. Then Mei Li said, with the pure incandescent shame of a person being destroyed by their own family in a professional setting. Mom, we are here on serious business. Lin Yue, still reading. This matter is more legitimate than the lawsuit. And that was the moment everything snapped into place. The scrutiny at the door. That was not a lawyer assessing a client. That was a mother assessing a son-in-law. She finished the file, closed it, looked up at the two of us, and her expression suggested she was not impressed with either of us. You're both good-looking. You've worked together for half a year. Don't tell me neither of you feels anything. Mom, I was, at this point, sweating. Can you imagine it? The founder of the most feared law firm in the country, using her negotiation voice to pitch her daughter across a coffee table. Ignoring her daughter entirely, Lin Yue continued. Mr. Xiao, my daughter is beautiful, and of course her background is quite good as well. Would you like to consider her? Mom, that one landed differently. Mei Li's voice had actual heat in it. Lin Yue looked at both of us again, and something recalculated behind her eyes. Fine, consider me nosy. My apologies, Mr. Xiao. What is a man supposed to say to that? It's fine. She nodded, and then flipped, with no transition at all, into being the most terrifying lawyer in the country. The case is fine. Mr. Xiao, do you want those clinic owners in prison, or do you want compensation? That is an arrogant sentence. That sentence assumes the outcome and asks you to choose the flavor. Coming out of her mouth, it just sounded like a menu. I thought about it properly. The company doesn't need money. What we need is deterrence. Ah, so you're sending them in. Based on your evidence, that shouldn't be difficult. Attorney Lin, regarding fees, she picked up her coffee and took a small sip. Give me whatever you think is fair. I'm not expecting to make money off your company anyway. I would like to state for the record that this is not how top-tier legal firms speak, and that in that moment I briefly wondered whether I was being defrauded by an extremely committed con artist. I'll have Assistant Mei transfer something. No problem. I had blocked out an afternoon. She made every decision in 12 minutes. We had a light lunch, then the two of them left together because apparently they hadn't seen each other in a while, and I watched them walk off down the street and let out a breath that had been in me since the door knocked. That was more pressure than R&D. That was more pressure than the military conference room. 5 academicians reading my life's work is nothing. 5 academicians do not ask you about your intentions toward their daughter. To her credit, she never raised it again. As for what I actually thought about Mei Li, I genuinely didn't know. I hired her because she was pretty. I kept her because within 4 months, she was running half my company. Somewhere in there, she had become the person I call first, and I had not examined that at all, because examining things like that is what people do when they have time. And now it turned out she had a mother who could end a corporation with a phone call, which, I will admit, occurred to me as an asset. If I had a mother-in-law like that standing behind this company, who exactly would dare come at us? All contingent, of course, on the girl not finding the whole idea repulsive. Women are difficult to read. I decided to let things develop naturally, which is what men say when they have decided nothing. On the pedestrian street, the two of them were discussing me. He doesn't seem all that interested in you. You're useless. Half a year and you haven't landed him. Attorney Lin Yue. Nobody will think you're mute if you stay quiet. Getting anxious? We are busy. We look like we work together, but we barely see each other. All that explanation. So you were anxious. Mei Li said each syllable separately. Chen, Su, Qing. All right. I'll stop. Her mother did stop because she is a professional and knows when a witness is about to become hostile. They walked. Mei Li let go of her arm to make a point about it. I read something online recently, Lin Yue said, about how most people's illusions shatter when they finally meet their first love as an adult. The illusion is usually stronger than the person. So, how's your illusion holding up? Mei Li rolled her eyes and said nothing for about 100 meters. Then she answered, I found that he's actually better than I imagined. Lin Yue considered this and appeared to accept it. I think the boy's all right too, and he's Professor Zhao Heng's student. If it weren't for me and your father's connections, you'd be marrying above yourself. Mei Li, I am definitely not their biological child. 3 days later, Huan Yu published the letter on my company's official page to Xiao Ming, Sun Ji, and the 6 named parties. At the request of our client and in accordance with current law, we hereby issue the following notice. According to information provided by our client, you have recently generated substantial public opinion online, slandering and defaming our client and infringing upon its reputation and rights. These improper actions have caused our client significant economic and reputational loss. They have caused a negative social impact and seriously affected the legitimate rights and interests of the client. In this attorney's view, Huan Yu Law Firm, attorney Lin Yue. Now, generally speaking, a lawyer's letter is pressure. It's a document that means, please stop, dressed as a document that means, we will destroy you. Most of the time, nothing follows it. We had already publicly stated we were filing, so the letter was not pressure. The letter was a psychological operation, and it worked entirely on the second line of the signature block, because within about 90 minutes, actual lawyers showed up in the comments and started explaining to civilians what they were looking at. The letter's here, at Xiao Ming, come out and take it. Holy crap. Huan Yu? What's special about that? I can only say Xiao Ming has walked into a wall this week. Explain, bro, I don't get it. Huan Yu is the most prestigious firm in the country, and you can remove the word most from that sentence and it's still fine. These days they handle transnational disputes for global top 500 corporations. Domestic firms generally can't afford them, and even if you could, they might refuse on the grounds that it lowers their prestige. I'm not ashamed to say it. I have a master's in law from a top 2 university here. I did not pass their first interview. Here's a picture of my meal card so you believe me. Holy crap, senior. I'm also doing a law master's and Huan Yu is my dream. Work hard. The competition is a bit intense. Even top 2 master's graduates struggle to get in. What is this company? Out of curiosity, I looked it up. That billion yuan case a while back, the one the internet giant lost, that was them, in the giant's home district. I rarely lose. That's the case where I lost the most money. It came up 3 times in a lecture when I was a sophomore, and that was before somebody recognized the signature. For people in the industry, Huan Yu is impressive but explicable. The name on this document is the actual problem. That person participated in the revision of international trade law. She co-authored the current edition of the domestic law textbooks, and as far as I know, she has not personally accepted a commission in years. This company is that connected? Another episode that makes the fans proud. In a rented office in Hangzhou, Xiao Ming's team held an emergency meeting that consisted primarily of people blaming each other. I said we shouldn't get involved. Now they've brought in Huan Yu. What do? We've lost nearly 500,000 followers in 4 days. Real ones. What can we do? Wait to lose money. This is a mad dog. It just doesn't stop. I said at the time the apology was too perfunctory. Now there's no going back. This account's reputation is gone. And in Shanghai, Wang Jian stared at that signature with his brows drawn together and could not make it work. He knew exactly what that name meant. As an ally, it's peace of mind. As an opponent, it is the thing that keeps chief executives awake, because the moment you learn Lin Yue is on the other side, the rational move is to start budgeting for the loss. But why? Xiao Ming's father was a man with a small factory. Even if the son developed good products, that does not connect a person to Lin Yue. There is no path. There is no reason. It doesn't touch anything. Wang Jian could not solve it, and it bothered him more than anything else that month, and he was still turning it over when the actually dangerous thing arrived. In my building, my operations floor was having a slightly different conversation. Brother Zhang, I'm shaken. I didn't realize a lawyer's letter could be like this. Everyone saying the name on it is one of the top figures in the entire legal profession. You can't hire her with money, and President Xiao just knows her? Gao Ming must be terrified. Zhang Hao shook his head with a wry smile. I didn't expect it either. He faxed it to me first thing this morning, and I assumed he'd picked a lawyer at random. Then I read the comments. Our general manager Lin, he thought, is not showing us the whole hand. And in the space of one document, the picture of me inside my own company completed itself. Young, elite university, products that overturned a market, a billion yuan military contract, and apparently personal access to people you cannot buy. Comparison really is the thief of joy. Then Mei Li put the bank statements on my desk. President Xiao, the military health service has transferred the full 300 million. I actually laughed. They agreed to pay within 3 months and cleared it in 9 days. All that complaining about being poor paid off. Because when I signed with Director Wu, I had mentioned, at some length, that we were building a new plant. Site secured, buildings going up, and no large-scale mechanized equipment. Because a decent line costs tens of millions, and I needed dozens of them. Now, 300 million from the military, plus the collected balances from every distributor who had spent 2 years pretending my calls dropped. Call it just over 400 million. The equipment problem ceased to exist in a single afternoon. Time to move. And then Director Wu called me, and that conversation changed the trajectory of my entire life. Mr. Xiao, I got the money moved for you. Don't let me down. Don't worry, Director Wu. Whatever the army needs, Lin Chen Pharmaceutical will provide. He laughed. Good, but, small pause. Director Wu, say it. If I can help, I will. Professor Zhou mentioned you hold quite a number of patents. I'd like to know whether you have anything else that's as good and as affordable as the cream. He had gone to Professor Zhou and asked, specifically, on the quiet. They're old acquaintances. That's the only reason Professor Zhou flew down from the capital to inspect an ointment in the first place. There isn't anything that's both cheap and good, I said. I see. The disappointment was completely undisguised. He'd been hoping a prodigy would have a second rabbit. I let him get almost all the way to hanging up. There's nothing cheap and good, but there is one thing I think you'd be interested in. Mr. Zhao, please speak freely. I wonder whether Director Wu has any knowledge of warrior serum. There was a silence on that line of a very particular quality. I could hear him deciding in real time whether I was making a joke. If an ordinary man says that sentence to a military medical director, the director laughs and moves on. But I was not ordinary to him. He had watched 5 academicians read my development log and lose the ability to speak in complete sentences. He had signed a billion yuan contract on it. And the man who called me a genius is a man who has never called anyone a genius. Even out of respect for Professor Zhu, he chose, provisionally, to believe me. Then I heard footsteps and a door, and the acoustics changed. He had moved somewhere quiet. Mr. Xiao, could you elaborate? First, it substantially improves cognitive processing, attention, and reaction speed, and holds the brain in a high-efficiency state for extended periods. Second, it increases metabolic turnover in muscle fiber and tissue, which improves strength and endurance and increases bone density and flexibility. Third, under sustained environmental stress, it fine-tunes physical and neurological structure to adapt to more complex conditions. Director Wu has run health logistics for a military region for years. He stopped participating in frontline development a long time ago, but he had not forgotten how to read a sentence. I heard his breathing change. Are you telling the truth? Every word was shaking slightly, and he did not know it. He told me months later that he had not lost composure like that in front of anybody, including his own superiors. Here's what we'll do, I said, entirely calm, because I had rehearsed this call in my head roughly 200 times over 3 years. Give me a secure address, and I'll send you some of the development data. Don't get excited. It's still in final clinical trials. Final trials, which means the safety assessment could complete very soon. He knew, everyone at his level knows, that several countries have programs pointed at this. Everybody wants it. Nobody has it, or nobody who has it is talking. Because whatever else changes about warfare, however electronic and networked and remote it becomes, when it actually begins, the first variable is still a human being. Anything that meaningfully improves what a soldier is capable of does not adjust a battle. It decides one. No, don't email it. Email isn't safe. All right, I'm coming to find you right now. I said something reasonable. He had already hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, feeling faintly embarrassed on his behalf, because what I had offered him was preliminary material, early logs, animal work, directional stuff. But if the man wanted to drive, who was I to stop him? 3 hours later, a military off-road vehicle stopped outside my office building. He had come so fast he was still in uniform. The receptionist did not attempt to speak. He crossed her lobby at a stride that moved air, realized halfway what he looked like, and visibly reassembled himself into a polite academic. "Hello, could you inform your general manager, Lin?" Okay. I came downstairs, saw the uniform, saw the vehicle, and did the mental arithmetic. It is at least 300 kilometers to the southern military region, 5 hours with the highway exits. He had made it in 3. Director Wu was speeding. A 60-year-old military health director had committed multiple traffic offenses to reach a preliminary research log. My employees were, at that moment, whispering in the stairwell. Uniform and glasses. That's an officer. 2 thin bars, 2 stars. That's a lieutenant colonel. Holy crap! Look how fast he's walking. What does he want with our boss? He saw me and did not do composure at all. He took 2 quick steps, seized both my hands, and shook them. "Mr. Xiao, do you have time now? If not, I'll wait until you're finished." "It's fine, Director Wu. Come with me and I'll get it." He slapped his own thigh with delight, which left my staff standing in the corridor with their brains switched off. Is that a lieutenant colonel? Why is a lieutenant colonel behaving like that toward our general manager? It can't just be the money. I drove him to the R&D base in the suburbs. My father built it. I expanded it. It has more security than a bank and always has. We went through 4 checks and into my private room, and I opened a safe and took out 2 documents thick enough to be doorstops. Early development logs, general direction, animal work, the records. I'll take a look first. He accepted them like relics and sat down and read every page carefully despite understanding, by his own admission, roughly a third of the vocabulary. What he could read was the shape. Preliminary trial successful, every indicator moving in the right direction. Nothing in there that smelled like a man who had gotten lucky once. At the end, 3 hours later, he stood up holding 2 stacks of paper and told me his hands were shaking from the weight. He thanked me repeatedly. He left. He got back to the base and immediately made a phone call. "Ximin, why are you calling this late?" Early the next morning, he was woken by footsteps outside his dormitory door, then a knock. He got up, not entirely conscious, opened it, and found his old superior standing there with 6 or 7 men in glasses, none of whom had slept. 3 of them had, 2 weeks earlier, been flown down to determine whether my ointment was real. They looked at him, not dressed, clearly asleep 4 minutes ago, and immediately began complaining. "It's 6 o'clock and he's still in bed. We drove all night. Where is it? Get it out." "Old Lee, you're getting more outrageous every year." Director Wu stood in his doorway, 60 years old, who had driven 600 kilometers twice in one day and could not think of a single thing to say. By noon, everyone had read it. By 2 in the afternoon, everyone who had read it was in a room being given confidentiality training and signing paperwork. That day, a red header document marked top secret went down the chain. 2 days later, several state media outlets published on the same morning. They praised the Sunshine Project. They named the company. They named me. Outstanding entrepreneur promoting social progress. Innovative entrepreneur. Distinguished young person. Representative entrepreneur of the decade. I came in that morning and everyone greeted me with about 40% more enthusiasm than usual, and I only worked out why when I turned on my phone and found a wall of news alerts. I had handed a man some early-stage logs. 9 days later, I was in the national press. I wanted to keep my head down and build a company. It was becoming apparent that the country had other plans. I used to be a fan of Lin Chen Pharmaceutical. Now I think I'm a fan of President Zhao. What, the face fruit user isn't worth following? That cream genuinely changed lives. The official assessment is correct. A 200 yuan ointment beating a 100,000 yuan procedure. That's a benefit for people like us. If we're talking benefits, that other product is far more powerful. It affects the happiness of all humankind. I knew somebody would say it. 2 weeks later, the new plant was finished. 30 times the floor area of the old one. New equipment throughout. Projected output more than 50 times what we'd been managing. Meanwhile, HR was hiring at a rate that made me nervous, and something started happening in our city that nobody had planned. Graduates from top universities began coming home. Actively. People who had gone to Shanghai and the capital and made it there were quietly requesting transfers back to a mid-tier, second-tier city because Lin Chen Pharmaceutical was here, and the pay was better than the first-tier equivalent, and their parents were 40 minutes away. Official figures for the city that month showed the number of top university graduates settling locally up by a factor I did not believe until I saw the source. And a saying started circulating, which I found genuinely embarrassing. Passing the civil service exam is nothing special. Getting into Lin Chen Pharmaceutical is an honor for your whole family. I thought that was unhealthy. There was nothing I could do about it. The ribbon cutting was enormous. Thousands of workers at the gate, black cars with official plates filling the lot. I walked a red carpet with local dignitaries while several national outlets filmed it. Firecrackers went off, drums went, and I cut a length of red silk with scissors I did not know how to hold. Then the trending topics did what trending topics do. New factory opens. Will pre-orders start? Stop buying from scalpers. Will the pre-sale collapse the servers? That evening I went live and I had them disable GIFs before we started. 3 million people. The screen was a solid wall of congratulations. Unreadable. scrolling too fast to parse. Is the factory finally done? When do pre-orders start? The cream is still impossible to get. 10,000 a night against this market. It's nothing. Shouldn't the boss be honoring the flag he planted? Pre-orders. Now. I want to order. Thank you for the congratulations, I said. And please be patient. Pre-orders for the cream open at 8. The Q&A ran until 7:59, and then Mei Li and Zhang Hao and the whole operations bench stopped breathing behind the camera. 1 minute, 30 seconds, 10, 9, 3, 2, 1. Live. The counter on the machine beside me started climbing. 50,000, 100,000, 300,000, 1 million, 2 million. It did not stop. 4.5 million, and then it slowed, and then it kept going anyway. Mei Li had both fists closed at her chest. Her mother had told her on the phone that a pre-sale would not clear 2 million orders, and had said it in the voice of a woman who is right about things. She was going to enjoy that phone call for the rest of her life. Zhang Hao and half of operations were hugging each other and rotating slowly. Somebody made a noise that came through on the broadcast audio and became a meme. To support the face fruit user, I have personally placed 5 orders. 20. It's cheap and it keeps. I'm here for the boss's face. 20 orders. Also, please reopen gifting. I'm rich. Why do I hear a monkey? That's an employee standing next to him. Mr. Xiao, don't hold it in. Just laugh. At 9, I closed it. 3, 2, 1. Pre-orders closed. As of now, the back end shows. I looked at the number, and I looked at the chat, and I deliberately let the pause run. Ahem. I won't read out the odd change. 5.53 million orders. The room detonated. 666. Holy, if you price that at retail, this company just did $1 billion in one night. I couldn't earn that in 10 lifetimes. Several? You couldn't earn that in 100. And I'm not envious. He deserves it. People don't understand. Developing a single drug runs into the hundreds of millions. Make more things. I want to describe what happened to me in that moment because I was not expecting it. 5.5 million people had, in 1 hour, handed money to a company that 11 weeks earlier had 11 viewers, 6 of whom were employees. Not because of an ad, not because of a celebrity, because a thief got arrested, and then we told the truth for 11 straight weeks and did not once get caught lying. I did not cry on camera. There is no version of that which is good for anybody. I stood up and I bowed to the lens. And behind me, without being asked, every employee in that room stepped into frame and bowed too. We took the entire company out that night. It was nearly 10 by the time the follow-up work was done, and everyone was still lit up like a fuse, Zhang Hao especially. Our official account was closing on 7 million followers against a target of 1 million by year-end. The city government had reclassified us as a priority enterprise. The year-end bonus was not going to be double. It was going to be a story he told at weddings. I got on stage and said the useful part first. Thank you all for these months. There'll be a small surprise attached to next month's salary. It goes out with the payroll. With the payroll means cash. Everyone in that room understood the sentence perfectly. Quiet down. There are prizes tonight, and it's all luck. Look at the screen behind me. First prize, a car. The rest of the announcement was inaudible, and in a private club in Shanghai, Wang Jian read the number 5.53 million and felt something happen in his chest, because 5.5 million orders had produced about $1 billion yuan. If it were his, 500,000 orders would have produced the same billion. The quality supports 2,000 a unit easily. He would have made the same money on 1/10 of the volume and kept 9/10 of the market in reserve. Instead, this boy had given the entire thing away at cost plus 30% and been called a national hero for it. He took out a box of my product and swallowed one because he had decided the evening required an outlet. At the Southern Military Region, Director Wu read the same number, was briefly alarmed, and then relaxed. Quality that high at that price. The problem would be if people weren't buying it. I just don't know, he said out loud to an empty office, when the trials on the other thing will finish. In the capital, Lin Yue looked at the figure on her phone and laughed quietly to herself. Well, Xiao Yao was right. Even with the childhood filter stripped off, that illusion was not going to shatter, because there are a great many second-generation heirs in this country who took over a family business. There is exactly one with a record like that. Chen Guoliang, being a professional, posted before breakfast. I've never used the cream, but based on my experience with the other product, I have absolute confidence in this man. Their products are flawless, amazing. So 5 million orders was frankly within my expectations. In fact, in my view, his product should only ever sell about this well. Those of you in the comments who said tonight wouldn't clear 2 million, reflect on your words. As for the ones who said 1 million, hee. They have clearly never used the other product. They have no accurate understanding of this man, hence the misjudgment. My advice, people like this should go and buy a couple immediately to calm themselves down. I'm guilty. I said it wouldn't clear 1 million. I don't not want to use it. I just can't get it, so my misjudgment is understandable. You old bastard, you ride waves faster than a man who has taken it. A car wheel has run over my face. While the country was still arguing about $1 billion yuan night, we posted one line. Tonight's live stream will feature a new product, personally introduced by Mr. Xiao. Please tune in. It's here. What miracle is it this time? Hopefully it continues the legend. Be cautiously optimistic. New drug development isn't cheap. Everyone stay rational, don't get harvested. Lower your expectations or you'll be disappointed. Has he ever let us down? We had also by then moved our broadcast to 8 to 9 at night because there is no point holding a 4-hour stream when your entire inventory evaporates in 3 seconds and the rest is a man sitting in a chair. 8 o'clock, live. First. What is the new product? Could it be a super version of the other one? Your brain is entirely aphrodisiac, isn't it? Mr. Lin, stop teasing. I smiled at the lens. I remember when the first product got popular, a lot of you said it made you feel 18 again, but that's temporary. And today, Lin Chen Pharmaceutical would like to issue everyone a second card, a permanent one. I snapped my fingers and a staff member put a small white bottle in my hand, clear, viscous gel inside. According to national figures, there are 250 million people in this country experiencing hair loss. That is 1 in 6, and it's getting younger. Work stress, late nights. We're now seeing it in people born after 2000. Anyone in this room tonight can stop worrying about it because Lin Chen Pharmaceutical has developed this hair growth treasure, gel formula, apply gently. It repairs the follicle in 3 days and grows soft, healthy hair on a bald scalp in 5. I picked up a mannequin head to demonstrate, which I recommend to nobody. And it is not limited to your scalp. Anywhere there is a follicle, it works. So please, do not use it carelessly. It's hair. I'm 18 and my hairline is already a V. I want it. I want it. V-shaped. Dude, Vegeta? Born 96, programmer, 5 years in, my hairline has ascended to heaven. Watching this closely. Wait, anywhere there's a follicle? Something is wrong with you. I've worn a wig for 5 years. Can I buy one now? I'm a girl born in 95, and I have a bald patch at the front. Mr. Xiao, please. 3 days to repair a follicle. 5 days to grow hair? Transplants aren't that fast. Real or fake? Somebody buy it and film it. Is it real? Still observing. Of course, I said. I know you have concerns, which is why we have a guest tonight. They made space beside me, and a face every single person in that room recognized walked into frame. The nostrils, the clear, slightly foolish smile. Hello everyone, I'm Chen Guoliang. Very happy to be a guest at Lin Chen Pharmaceutical headquarters today. Haha, it's that old bastard. A dream collab, offline edition. Wait, why him? Everyone look at his head. Huh? Didn't he have a bald patch? Here's the thing. He always points his nose at the camera, which means nobody had ever gotten a clear look at the top of his head. But everybody had seen the original news interview, and everybody had seen his first 2 videos, and everybody knew exactly what was up there. A balding, greasy, middle-aged crown with a receding hairline and a visible patch. And now there wasn't one. Dense, covering, scalp completely hidden. He looked, and I am being literal, 10 years younger. The entire greasy quality of him had somehow evaporated. He'd become a normal middle-aged man, which for him was a transformation on the order of a butterfly. We sent it to Uncle Chen 6 days ago, I said. Uncle Chen, care to share your user experience? He agreed immediately, and then, in accented Mandarin, he delivered a piece of stand-up comedy that I did not authorize. Though I am middle-aged, my heart remains young, passionate, and fiery. Back in the day, while I could not compare to Mr. Xiao, I was quite handsome, comparable to a classical beauty. Unfortunately, things did not go as planned, so handsome, and I started losing my hair right after 30. Before, when I went out, young ladies would look at me with light in their eyes. After the patch appeared, people looked at me with disdain. My wife used to joke, my baldness has successfully sealed away my good looks. On the surface, I smiled lightly, carefree. Inside, I was silently weeping. I vowed then that I would one day save my looks and regain my youth. But fighting the ravages of time is not simple. I found famous doctors. I even tried hair drugs whose side effect was, well, brothers, you know. And still, nothing. Until Mr. Xiao let me try his product. He held up one enormous hand. 5 days. It solved a problem that tormented me for over a decade. That morning I woke up and looked at my thick, beautiful hair, and I could not help but recall a certain run beneath a setting sun. That was my lost youth, and I have found it again. Huh? Somebody says this is a wig. And then the man stood up, put his head at the lens, grabbed a fistful of his own new hair, and pulled. You're telling me this is a wig? It couldn't be more real. Hiss, ow. He pulled out a small tuft. He held it up to the camera for a close-up. Look, it just grew. Ha ha ha, Uncle Wang should be a regular cast member. For serious comedy, this man has no equal on the internet. Hair, I only just arrived and you're already doing this to me. Wig, pull it all out if you dare. Mr. Xiao, stop him and put it on the shelf. I'll buy it. Based on the cream's track record, I recommend this blind. I've been to a dozen hospitals and I was about to book a transplant. I'm trusting this man instead. Not everyone was convinced and their objections were reasonable. I still doubt it. There's no process shown. How is a result supposed to convince anyone? Coordinated hype to bleed investors. I'm a fan and I'm still waiting. My scalp has been treated with so many products, it can't take another one. I'm interested and scared. I'm a woman. My pattern is different. I'll observe. I took the room back and announced the price without addressing the doubt at all. 99 yuan. 5 days. Buy your youth back. It's cheap. Fine. I'll try it. Could a guy go first and report back? We'll let you lot go first. Can't afford 99 and you have the nerve to be in this room? Since it's the first time, everyone ordering today gets 20% off, 50,000 units, live in 1 minute. 3, 2, 1. A full 30 seconds this time. 50,000 units in 30 seconds, which, next to 3-second sellouts, looks like hesitation. And it was. But Zhang Hao's team had modeled 3 minutes, and they were quietly ecstatic. And here's the arithmetic that made them ecstatic. 3 million people in the room, 1 in 6 has hair loss, so the addressable audience in that stream was roughly 500,000 people. 1/10 of them bought a brand new, unproven product inside 30 seconds. That is not explosive. That is something better. That is the compound interest on 2 products that told the truth. And this was step 1, because I had the second half already loaded. By morning, the hair loss story had eaten the internet, because hair loss is the most democratic affliction there is. Office workers, retirees, movie stars. There is a famous singer in this part of the world whose entire hairstyle for 15 years has been an engineering solution to one specific patch, and his fans discuss it the way sailors discuss weather. Money does not fix it. That's the part that had made everyone give up. A hair product? 99 yuan? Please let it work like the cream. I'm 25 and a child called me grandpa today. Who understands me? 3 days for a follicle. Is that not an exaggeration? Got one. Filming from the moment it arrives. Brother, you just film. I'll wait for your log before I buy. Would this company really fake a script right now? At this reputation level, that's suicide. If this works, the wig industry has had its worst day in history. And then some very observant people notice that the share prices of several listed hair restoration hospital chains and most of the publicly traded wig manufacturers had started falling. I give up. Mr. Xiao, are you heartless? Are you going to destroy another industry? I had a feeling during the stream. I didn't think it'd be same day. I haven't sold yet. In the time it took me to type this, it dropped another 5 yuan. My heart is bleeding. That was the point at which I released the second half. Our official account posted 1 line, tagging over a dozen accounts. Click through for detailed instructions on using hair growth treasure. One of the names was Chen Guoliang, and on his page there was a new video. A clean bare room, 1 bed, and on the wall beside it, an enormous running timer. He steps in front of the camera. Brothers and sisters, Mr. Xiao invited me to test the new hair product. To make sure this is authentic, the following footage has had no editing except fast forward. Then he opens a sealed unit on camera and applies it to a bald, faintly reflective patch. It's cool, comfortable. Faint fragrance. You could put this on in the morning and go to work. And then the timer runs. He lies on the bed on his phone. He walks to the window and looks out. He goes to the toilet next door and comes back. Wide-angle lens. He never leaves frame for more than 90 seconds, and the clock never stops. Day 3, 36 hours on the wall. Camera slows down. He puts his head at the lens, and you can see fine new hairs coming up through the bald patch. He touches it, and his voice cracks. Brothers, look. I wouldn't have dared imagine this. 3 days. Day 4, 48 hours. The fine hair has thickened into visible coverage across the crown, like grass coming in on new soil. This thing is incredible. Even if you're not going bald, you could use it as a booster. Day 5, 52 hours. He turns his head to the camera, and the studio lights hit it, and there is no shine. 2 centimeters of hair, completely covering what used to be a receding hairline. He touches it, and he nearly cries. Holy crap! Family, I have genuinely got my youth back. There has never been such a wonderful ending. Cheer for me, applaud for me. Then he looks up, points his nostrils at the lens, and gives an enormous thumbs up. End of video. There is no way to fake that. There is no window in which to fake it. 1 continuous room, 1 continuous clock, 1 wide lens, 1 man who is objectively too incompetent to run a deception at that technical level. And behind him, 13 other people posted the same thing. Different causes, male pattern, stress-driven, environmental, pathological, each of them introducing themselves first, each of them filming a clock. Every single one worked. 2 of the women cried on camera at the end, and if that was acting, it belongs in a syllabus. The love of one's own face is not vanity. It is one of the most ordinary human things there is. And a 99 yuan bottle had just handed it back to a group of people who had made peace with never having it. Then, on the same morning, my old university posted something across all of its official accounts simultaneously. Wonderful news. Our distinguished alumnus at Xiao Ming has donated the synthesis route for the source spirit element to our School of Biochemistry. This donation will substantially advance research into follicular regeneration and inject new vitality into our teaching. We record our gratitude. And the internet, which by that stage contained a large number of amateur investigators, worked it out inside 4 minutes. Wait, Xiao Ming? Which Xiao Ming? Is that the CEO? I searched. He graduated from the Department of Biochemistry at Dijing University. His supervisor was Professor Zhou Heng. That's one of the top chemists alive. Holy crap! What is a source spirit element? Somebody explain. I'll try. I'm a chemistry master's student at a top 5 school here. I don't know much about it. I've only seen it in one obscure paper. It's a theoretical compound proposed by a foreign professor, synthesized from rare elements and natural extracts, extremely complex molecular structure, but stable. In theory, it penetrates to the follicle, activates dormant papilla cells, and drives them back into an active growth phase, which would allow regrowth in a very short window. Boss.
Does his hair product contain a theoretical compound?
I don't know, but the university's timing makes it pretty obvious. He recreated a compound that only existed on paper. If the chemistry prize weren't a political instrument, he'd have a real shot next year. Is this real? Synthesizing a theoretical substance goes in the actual history of chemistry. I thought he was a small business owner. He's a research monster? Handsome, brilliant, and connected. Is anyone else supposed to live? And then, because the internet does not stop, somebody dug up my student record. Completed all required university credits in the first semester of first year. Second semester of first year, swept essentially every award available in the department. Second year, published 11 papers. 7 took a major international pure chemistry prize. 3 took a leading journal award. Third year, felt he was no longer learning anything, left and went home to run the R&D department of his family's small pharmaceutical factory. And then his father died and he became the boss. What kind of deity is this? My mother asked why I was kneeling while watching President Xiao. If I open my resume to any random page, it's a field you will never set foot in. He decided the best university in the country wasn't teaching him anything and went home to do it alone. That is the most humiliating episode in that university's history. A lot of people don't understand what those prizes are. Let me put it this way. If you won 1 during a doctorate, your supervisor would treat you like his own father and would move mountains to get you into a program. He won 10. When he left, I imagine several deans lay awake. We are not in the same dimension as this man. Sitting in my office reading all of that, I have to be honest about my reaction, which was mild embarrassment. The donation was old news. I had made the source spirit element in my 3rd year, at home, in my father's lab. Professor Joe had given me a personal key to a university laboratory in my 2nd year. I was the only student in the department who had one, and when I later heard his group was working the same problem, I sent him everything. All of it. No conditions. He'd looked after me. That's the whole story. The university publishing it now, 6 years later on this specific morning, was Professor Joe quietly repaying a favor by putting an institutional signature under my hair product. And it worked. Completely. Whatever doubt remained died on the spot. Meanwhile, Bald Wong had a problem, which was that Chen Guoliang had ridden this wave first, and he had not. So he bought a bottle the moment we announced it, sat down in front of his camera, and planned. You need to know that Bald Wong is not bald. He is young, with an excellent head of hair. He wears a bald cap for the character, and he remembered a specific line from my launch. Anywhere there is a follicle, it works. So please do not use it carelessly. That warning is for normal people. Bald Wong is not a normal person. Suggesting otherwise insults him. If we're doing this, we go all the way. I can afford it. So he shaved off his eyebrows, then his armpits. Then he looked down at the 4 or 5 sparse hairs on his chest, picked up the razor, and removed those too. A man should be hard on himself. 3 days later, he examined the results and was, on camera, visibly annoyed. Because he had shaved, not damaged. The follicles were perfectly healthy. So the reactivation function had nothing to do, and only the growth acceleration function applied, which meant everything came back at approximately 4 times normal speed. He now had 2 dark thriving patches under his arms, a chest situation he described as newly masculine, and 1 continuous eyebrow. He decided this was an improvement, noted that he would no longer need false eyebrows for a certain cosplay, and posted the whole thing. The comment section was 3,000 consecutive question marks. When it comes to defying nature, this man has never once disappointed. My eyes. What is under his arms? Give me eyes that have never seen. The chest hair is distinctive. Get a stylist to shape it. Incorrect use of hair growth treasure. Mr. Xiao, selling this to you for 99 yuan was a mistake. Bald Wong, Mr. Xiao's warning is my content pipeline. I'm 18, I'm a PE major, and I get mocked for having no armpit hair. Brother, thank you. You have shown me the way. There are still experts among us. I saw it because I follow all 3 of them, and I froze at my desk with my brain making a noise. Then fitness channels started copying him. Somebody shaped their chest hair into a heart. Somebody documented changing their eyebrow shape daily. Somebody asked why not a tiger, then you wouldn't need a tattoo. And somebody else said thanks for the idea and did it. Our official account passed 7.6 million followers. And while an entire nation was discussing body hair, I went out to the test base because the actual work had started. There was a man standing on the flat ground when I got there, about 30, slim build, nervous. His name was Ma Jun. He drove for a living. 2 weeks earlier, a doctor had referred him to a drug trial, and he had thought very hard about it because being a test subject is genuinely frightening. But his girlfriend's parents had named a bride price and specified a flat in the provincial capital. And on a driver's salary that is not a goal, it's a joke. So he read the risk disclosure, signed the informed consent, signed the trial protocol, completed every compliance step there is. And the reason he did it is that the volunteer compensation was 1.2 million yuan. That covers the bride price and the deposit on a decent two-bedroom. He had looked at the list of possible adverse events in that document, and then he had looked at his actual life, and he had decided his actual life was hurting him more. He had a chance to cure being poor. He was going to take it. Then he saw who was walking toward him, and his eyes went sideways. Mr. Xiao? Hello, I'm glad you came. I put out my hand. Don't worry, this has been through multiple rounds. There's essentially no risk. He shook it, bewildered, and I watched about 30% of the fear leave his shoulders, which was the point of saying it. Assistants came forward and took his heart rate and his baselines. Have you kept the sleep schedule and the light diet? Everything the doctor said. Good, then let's begin. For the next 7 days, we did nothing but measure him. Endurance running, weighted work, reaction timing, sustained attention. Every day, all day, until he could barely stand. He kept going, for 1.2 million yuan and a two-bedroom flat. At the end of week 1, I had a clean baseline. Then, on the first morning of week 2, I took him into a laboratory alone and gave him 5 milliliters intramuscular. 60 seconds later, he made a sound. Because he could feel it. He told me afterward that it started at the heart and went outward into everything, cell by cell, like a current-finding wire. His pulse came up hard enough that he could hear it in his own skull. His muscles made an audible sound as they went taut. Sight, hearing, smell, all of it sharpened simultaneously, the way a lens racks into focus. Information stopped arriving and started being available. His thoughts got clearer. His breathing got easier. He said it was the best feeling of his life, and he was terrified the entire time. I stood in the corner in a lab coat and watched quietly and said nothing, because the data is the data and comfort contaminates it. Then we sent him back out to repeat the identical week. Endurance run, 10 times his own average from 7 days earlier. Sustained attention, 6 times. Load bearing, 3 times. Reaction speed index, 5 times. He finished the last test and stood in the middle of the ground staring at his own hands, because during those tests he had felt it properly. Things that had been impossible with everything he had 7 days ago were now trivial, and he could feel that it was not his ceiling. He clenched a fist and got a sensation of raw physical capability that he had no vocabulary for. What is this? Somebody patted his shoulder. He turned around and found me smiling. Well done. Same again tomorrow. Another week. Every indicator stabilized flat. I sat down with the compiled dataset and went through it line by line. Gene coding, no anomalies. Signal transduction, normal across the board. Safety estimate, 99.8%. That falls inside what I would call absolutely safe. Muscle fiber and bone reinforcement, slightly under target, not perfect yet, though that's partly Ma Jun. He has a weak constitution and he cannot fully absorb the active protein synthesis available in the dose. If this had gone into a trained soldier, that man would casually break the marathon record and the 100-meter record in the same afternoon. Attention averaged near 6.5 times, but Ma Jun has never had attention training, so there's headroom there too. Overall, within expectations. Next, scale the trial. Age, blood type, baseline condition, family history, every variable confirmed independently. The military had already offered to help with all of it, recruitment channels, funding, green lights. That was the arrangement Director Wu had made on his second visit. Ma Jun was volunteer number 1, and unlike every other compound I've ever built, this one touches gene expression and, at the margins, personality. That is why the compensation is 1.2 million and not 12,000. If it goes wrong, it does not go wrong as a rash. I also knew, watching him walk back to the dormitory that evening, that his life had already changed and he did not know it. Director Wu would offer him a position. It would be presented as an opportunity. It would function as supervision. That part was not mine to manage. I picked up the phone. Mr. Xiao, something new? He had switched from Boss Xiao to Mr. Xiao the day he read the logs. Small thing, it meant everything. I read him the numbers. Oh my, endurance 10 times, reaction 5.5, attention nearly 7? He had believed the serum would be impressive. He had not built a mental model for this. More or less, I said, and he hasn't accessed the full effect. His physical baseline is too poor. That's still incredible, because he was doing the substitution in his head. Take a soldier, real conditioning, real skills, real willpower, and multiply every one of those by that factor. That is not a better soldier. That is a different category of object. And safety, Mr. Xiao? What are we looking at? 99.8%. Absolutely safe range. There was a pause where he stopped forming sentences. Okay, that's great. Mr. Xiao, money is not a problem. Volunteers are not a problem. Do whatever you need to do. Call me at any hour. The instruction from above, he explained, was that until this thing is finished, he is my remote assistant. Understood, Director Wu. Having a lieutenant colonel as an assistant is a strange feeling. I recommend it. Around the same time, in a Shanghai courtroom, our defamation case opened. Defendants, Xiao Ming, Sun Ji, and 6 clinic chain owners recently released from 30 days detention. Plaintiff, Linchen Pharmaceutical, represented by Mei Li. Counsel, Lin Yue. I am told the proceedings went smoothly in the sense that a demolition goes smoothly. Opposing counsel came in fighting during the first round of submissions, which was arguably brave, at which point attorney Lin Yue began taking it slightly more seriously. I am told she deployed roughly 30% of herself and then, amid pleasant conversation, dismantled the entire opposing argument. The lawyers surrendered. The defendants were routed. Xiao Ming and Sun Ji, both of whom had spent years being eloquent and beaming on camera, went the color of paper. The judgment. The chain owners, for maliciously spreading rumors, fabricating facts, infringing on the rights of others, and causing serious harm, 2 years, and fines exceeding 8.67 million. Xiao Ming and Sun Ji, 1 year each, and fines over 3 million. At some point during proceedings, attorney Lin Yue yawned. She said afterward that difficult litigation like this really does make her sleepy.
Then Director Wu heard about the outcome and made a call to his old superior. And that same evening, several state outlets published a short notice with pixelated images. Individuals who fabricated public opinion, seriously infringed upon the interests of others, and caused significant impact have been found guilty of defamation. They confessed without hesitation. Netizens are reminded to obey the law online and not to spread false information. Even through the mosaic, I recognized that old thief. What a delightful episode. They're actually in? I thought it'd be a payout. You pay and you go in. It got too big to clean up. Karma is a circle. Apparently, the whole hearing took about a dozen minutes, and their lawyers were dumbfounded. And in a private room in a Shanghai restaurant, Lin Yue looked at that notice over dinner with her daughter and frowned very slightly. She had expected coverage. She had not expected coverage that fast. She had won the case. State media had escorted the verdict onto the front page within hours. That is not a court's speed. That is somebody's speed. Her eyes narrowed a fraction. Xiao Ming is quite an interesting young man. Wang Jian noticed exactly the same thing on exactly the same evening, and it kept him up. Because he could account for the lawyer, he could not account for the escort. Lin Yue does not have that reach. Nobody in private practice does. The military's billion yuan crane contract should not produce this either. That's procurement. Procurement does not get you a verdict amplified by the national press within 6 hours. The university? Professor Zhou protecting a student? He doesn't have that kind of energy. Wang Jian worked at it for 2 days and could not make it close. What he did conclude was correct, and he wrote it down. Linchen Pharmaceutical is currently untouchable, and he understood something about himself while writing it. He is a general manager with a shareholding, which sounds important. And if the actual apparatus of a country has quietly decided to stand behind that company, then a man in his position is not a player. He is an item that gets removed from the board by his own shareholders to make a problem go away. That evening, I drove out to the test base and did not tell anybody I was going. I had 2 reasons. The official one was that Ma Jun's 4-week stability window closed that night, and I wanted to pull the numbers myself. The unofficial one is that my office had become a place where people came to congratulate me, and I had started to find it unbearable. The gate guards checked my face against a list, even though every one of them knows exactly who I am, which I appreciate because a checkpoint that makes exceptions is a door. Inside, the corridor lights were on their night setting. Somewhere down the hall, a centrifuge was finishing a cycle. I sat down in front of a screen and pulled up the full dataset. Every volunteer, every row, gene coding, clean, signal transduction, clean, safety, 99.8. And then I did something I do not normally do, which is open the company's financial summary on the same screen, side by side, because I wanted to look at both numbers at once. 12 weeks earlier, I had 11 people watching a live stream. 6 of them were on my payroll. My accounts had a minus sign in front of them. I had spent 3 years building things that worked perfectly and were sitting in cardboard boxes behind the foot cream. And the reason was not that they were bad. It was that a man in Shanghai had made a phone call. That night, the number on the left was 3 products: a billion yuan military contract, 400 million in cleared receivables, 5.5 million pre-orders, and a factory 30 times the size of the one my father built. And the number on the right was a court judgment with 8 names on it. I want to be honest about what I felt, because it was not triumph. It was the specific, uncomfortable clarity of having been proven right about something I would rather have been wrong about. I used to believe quality opened markets, that if you made a thing good enough, the world eventually noticed, because the world is not stupid. The world is not stupid. The world simply never got to see it. For 3 years, the only reason my products failed is that somebody with shelf space decided they would. What actually saved this company was not my chemistry. It was a middle-aged man with thinning hair who stole a box off a shelf, tried it, got arrested by his own wife, and then asked a national news crew not to blur his face. That is the whole mechanism. 3 years of work, rescued by the least dignified 60 seconds ever broadcast in this country. I have made my peace with it. I send him products for free now, and he pretends he does not expect them. Around 11, I walk down to the sealed laboratory at the end of the corridor and put my hand on the reader. Inside there is a cabinet, and inside that there is a rack, and in the rack there is one tube.
Not the volunteer formulation, the other one, the one matched over 11 months to exactly one set of indicators. I stood there with the cabinet open for a while, which is not like me, because in about 4 hours, a deputy captain from a special operations unit was going to arrive at this base to have his baselines taken, and in a week he was going to receive a dose, and after that, this stops being a research program and becomes something with a chain of command attached to it. And once that begins, it does not stop. Not for me, not for anybody. I closed the cabinet. On the drive back, my phone lit up on the passenger seat. 2 messages. The first was from Director Wu at 11:40 at night, which by then was normal. Mr. Xiao, confidentiality training completed for the second group. Everything is in place on our side. Please rest. The second was from Mei Li. Boss, Attorney Lin Yu says the verdict is final and there's no appeal worth filing. She also says to tell you she has never won anything that boring in her life. Then, 40 seconds later, a second message from the same number. She also asked whether you're free next weekend. I looked at that for slightly longer than it warranted, sitting at a red light on an empty ring road at midnight. Then I put the phone face down. Here is where things actually stood. I had beaten a smear campaign in public, and I had done it with 3 photographs and 1 word. I had put 8 people in prison, and I had done it with a signature belonging to a woman who had come to a coffee shop personally and then asked me about my intentions toward her daughter. I had a billion yuan supply contract, and an army officer who called me at midnight to tell me to rest. And every single one of those things had arrived because a company that nobody had heard of told the truth 11 weeks in a row and did not once get caught. That is the good version. Here's the other one. Wang Jian went to bed that night having worked out correctly that I was untouchable and having failed entirely to work out why. He could account for the lawyer. He could not account for the speed of the state. He was going to keep pulling on that thread. Men like that always do. And he was going to keep pulling until he found the one thing in my building that nobody in the public, nobody in my company, and nobody in his industry knew existed. Because the reason the country had moved that fast was not the ointment. It was sitting in a sealed cabinet at the end of a corridor behind a live ammunition perimeter with a red header on the file and my handwriting on the label. And the man who was going to receive the first military dose of it was, at that moment, on a train, extremely annoyed about it and entirely certain that chemistry is for people who cannot do the work. He was going to change his mind in about 9 days. I did not know any of that yet. What I knew, driving home at midnight past my own factory with the lights still on inside it, was that 12 weeks earlier I had been a man doing arithmetic with a minus sign, and that somewhere out there was a girl who had stopped covering half her face, and a boy whose knee had new skin on it, and about 400,000 men who were, for reasons of their own, extremely loyal to me. I put the window down. Cool. Very cool. Love that for me.